Welcome, everyone. I have seen the Schumacher Cut, and if you want to know everything that's in it, you've come to the right place. This is superhero stuff you should know. Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of Superhero Stuff You Should Know. I'm Ben Wan, and with me, as usual, is my co-host, Alex Ramsey, a.k.a. Captain Kill.
Captain Kill.
Welcome, Alex. And joining us today is one of my favorite people to collaborate with. He runs the Neuverse Creative channel. He produces the audio dramas. He edits them. He directs them. He writes a few of them. I write a few of them. He's the voice actor of Robin to one of my Batmans. Please welcome Tim Maxwell.
Hello. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on. We teamed up on the Batman Forever Schumacher Cut audio, and now it's kind of a surreal to be like, all right, I've actually seen it. Let's talk about this. So I'm happy to be able to share it with both of you, as well as our audience here. So we have an episode that feels like it's been 6 years in the making. It's, back in 2019, I first came on the show to share what was in the original scripts for Batman Forever, and the deleted subplot involving Bruce Wayne grappling with his trauma. And I just remember the big reaction I got from my co-host Andrew at the time, where I was like, they shot this. They actually did this, and they cut it. And not long after we recorded that episode, we aired that podcast episode, Mark Bernardin on Fat Man Beyond claimed publicly that there was a longer, darker cut of Batman Forever that existed. And this was backed up by the screenwriter, Akiva Goldsman, in different interviews. And this led to a fan movement calling for the release of what they call the Schumacher Cut. And we kind of predated the movement by a few months. I'm not going to claim credit or anything, because it was kind of...
It was all us. It was us. We did it. You're welcome.
But we've interacted with people who want to see this release. Tim and I teamed up on the audio drama of the original scripts with the material that some of which is not in this cut, but some that is. And it was really cool to see some of the stuff that we did that we didn't know was going to be in the cut until I saw it. And now, 6 years after that episode, I can now say that I've seen it. It exists, and it's as great as I thought it would be. It lived up to expectations I had, but I also had to keep, we have to kind of tell people about what those expectations should be, because I think there's sort of misconceptions about like what this is. But for me, it lived up to the expectations and kind of blew my mind as well, in terms of like stuff that I hadn't seen before, stuff I knew was in the script. But there's a difference between reading the script and seeing the actors actually play it out, especially during scenes that we had done a fan-made audio together, and to hear the original actors do it was, it's a huge surprise, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
Was it pretty different, like the inflections and everything, and like how they did it, basically?
Different from what? From
how you did it, I mean.
Yeah, in certain ways too, like certain scenes that I think Tim and I did, we did it in like a bigger way.
Okay.
Whereas a little bit, more quieter way that they did it in it. But I also think some of that too can be the nature of audio, right? Where you kind of have to go a little bigger in certain things, as opposed to like film. You got sort of the visuals, you got close-ups, so like things can be a little bit more, smaller and stuff, in order to be just as powerful. So some of that can be due to the medium. Some of that could just be differences in terms of how to execute that. So yeah, I'm happy to be able to share. But I also think, nice, to preemptively answer some questions that some people might have up front, I've been asked not to share how I saw it, so I'm not going to go into how it happened. Obviously,
it was me.
It was Captain Kill. It's very publicly, there was an LA screening as well that was canceled and shut down, and obviously it wasn't one where we were like, well, we kind of had to see, all right, like that happened, and I think we were fortunate to be able to see it through another party at that time. And I don't have a copy for it to leak out, so out of respect for the people who showed it to me, that's not happening. So best I can do is do this episode, which will be just a systematic breakdown of everything that I saw that's different. So let's go a little bit into what this is. We had a comment from a user named Alan Chill Crime Alley Collection about this, because I think there's some misconceptions in terms of what this is. So let's pull this up right here. We have their comment. Let me pull it up. And this person brings up, there isn't a Batman Forever director's cut, as so many of you claim. Calling us out here, huh?
Yeah.
What people are going on about is an assembly cut. Big difference. Joel was very proud of Batman Forever, the cut we got. It's disrespectful to be claiming he wasn't and his cut wasn't seen. So first, what do you guys think of this?
First off, I will say this off the bat, and just like before we do get into this person's comment, I do respect that while you did say something critical about what we were saying, you were very respectful about it. You weren't disrespectful or rude about it. You approached it like, we can always take criticism, but like, we don't want people coming in here like, like if people start like calling us like names or something like that, we don't want to have any of that energy. So first off, thank you for saying this mostly respectfully. But so like with the whole Schumacher cut, that is just a word that people use to just get the point across of like kind of what it is. It's like an internet buzzword. But yes, like obviously like what we got in the theaters is actually what he wanted us to see. But like saying Schumacher cut is kind of like what it's known on the internet as, basically, even though we know it's not.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between being proud of the theatrical version or the cut that we got, but still recognizing that there were other scenes and other plot points, plot lines, and lines that didn't make the final cut that would be worth seeing. It would be like anything that you and I, Ben, would work on, that maybe we cut some stuff out. We're proud of what we put out, but hey, man, there was some cool stuff that we had to cut. It's the same thing. So we're not taking away from what Joel did accomplish, because we all love Batman Forever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
I've kind of taken a look, and there really isn't enough interview wise to say Schumacher was ever on record saying like, oh my God, we had this huge subplot for Bruce Wayne, and I was really disappointed it was cut. Like, there's not anything on record for that. But there's also not anything on record being like, oh my God, I hated that subplot. It was killing the entire base of the movie. Thank God it was like, I'm so happy it was like, with this, it's never really been anything either way. So like, would it go as far as to say like it would be disrespectful to claim that a cut with those things would be against what he wanted? It's tough to say, because he
kind
hasn't
of putting
really
words in his mouth either way,
right,
basically.
Yeah, and I think calling it the Schumacher cut is first off, part of the reason why we do that is just because everyone else is calling it that, and I kind of feel like it's a little pretentious.
We're clearly fans here. I mean, look at this. I got this from the from the 90s. I promise you, man, I'm a fan. Look, I got hold on the camera. I got these too.
I've got these, and then just look at Tim's shirt, But I would kind of feel pretentious on my end to be like, no, actually, we're gonna call it this thing. Like I just
no, actually,
we're gonna call it the Schumacher cut. He did direct it, and this is what people know this to be. And again, I just haven't found anything to say that he loved the theatrical cut so much that he didn't want any of the Bruce Wayne subplot or any of the stuff that was cut to even be in there. As well as the fact that, as a small correction, what I saw was not an assembly cut. An assembly cut is what they put as just the initial edit, or they just put all the scenes together. And this was much further along than that. It had effects that were done. There was some stuff that was probably going to be 80 yards later, but it was definitely, it had gotten through a few things. There's some stuff where I'm just like, okay, that take went on a little too long.
It was
but
like
it's definitely further along than an assembly cut.
Second or third draft, basically.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So to go into what this is, we have to go into what this is not, which is, one, to clear up misconceptions. This is not a cut that WB would release as is. People are expecting to be like, let's put this on HBO Max immediately. I'm like, look, it's unlikely they're going to do that in the current condition, because, at least not without some disclaimer, because of the fact that what I was privy to is a Workprint cut in VHS quality with a time code on it. It's an earlier cut of the movie while they were still editing it, and it's unfinished, and it's very rare for the public to be able to see anything like that. The public is not meant to see anything like that. It is missing scenes that would be shot later, right? And it's not quite complete or ready to go. And on top of that, it doesn't have the complete original score to it. It has temp music to it.
I got a question, Ben.
Yeah.
Do they have the radio detonator?
Yes, they do have the radio
scene?
detonator.
Okay, good. Then we're good. All right, awesome.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, Tim.
Sounds like it's releasable to me.
When I was a kid, we call it the grandma or the nanny cut. My grandma recorded Batman Forever onto a VHS, and it picks up right when he says radio detonator. That's when the movie starts. And so for the longest time, that's how I was used to seeing the movie. So like,
that is hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's the Alex's grandma cut. But yeah, this is not.
That's the
like
cut everybody needs to see.
We could just release that one. We could dig up that VHS. That'd be great.
I'll find it somewhere around here. Don't you worry. I'll find it.
I feel like that's an easy edit. You just got the first like 30
the
minutes.
VHS. I got it in the back here.
I know, but I want it in VHS quality. Record it off.
I can do it.
Right.
Not even a problem.
So it is a Workprint cut in VHS quality, and with temp music and I'll go into what the temp music is, but temp music is essentially the music that they take from other existing sources just to give an idea and during the edit of the type of feel that they want. Again, it's not meant for the public to see because it's going to be replaced by original score, especially original score that the studio is going to own, because we do run into another situation here where if they were to release this as is, they would probably need to get the rights to the specific music that they use in the temp track or go through the work of removing the temp music entirely. The temp music being part of it, though, does make it very interesting to watch because it does change the tone of certain scenes. And so it's tough to say. Most likely, we wouldn't see something like this be released. The main comparison I can make to this is for those who are familiar with the 1989 Punisher movie of Dolph Lundgren. They had a Workprint cut that was released. I don't even know if that was legitimately from New World Pictures. I haven't looked into that, but they had a Workprint cut that's released that is in VHS quality. I think the time code's on there and that type of stuff. It's got a Pink Floyd song at the end of it. Like
it's got the Leave Your Hat On song too. I remember hearing that in the club at one point. I was like, I remember that in the original original movie.
I don't even know how legit that was in terms of the release of that, but this is the closest comparison I can make. It's not quite as simple as what we saw with, because I was thinking about like, why is it that we got the Daredevil director's cut that Alex and I went over like a couple months ago? How is it that happened so easily when they got the release of the DVD shortly after? And I think a big reason is it's on record that was the original picture locked cut, as in like they had done all the color corrections, they had done everything sound wise to make it like, okay, this is ready for release. And then probably due to producer interference and test screenings, they went back and they did the other thing, but it already existed. And I believe the Punisher 2004 extended edition is like that too. So it was kind of already good to go. This, I don't think it ever got to that point. I think it was always sort of this unfinished thing. And then they decided to cut it and then they finished and color corrected it. So it would still need to go through that type of stuff in order to be complete. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this is not a dramatically different movie. It's not a dramatically darker cut. It doesn't suddenly take place in an Anton First Gotham from 89. It doesn't suddenly have the Batmobile from 89 returns. This is not a Snyder cut situation where it's just a dramatically different execution. Most of the goofy stuff from the theatrical cut is still in here. And there's stuff in here that was cut from the theatrical cut that you would say is still goofy. And there's stuff here in here that's much darker. So it's a mix. If you're not a fan of the original movie's tone, this is not going to make it dramatically better for you. But if you are somebody who already has the nostalgia for Batman Forever and you like the existing theatrical cut and you know that this would make it better, then this is for you. But if you're looking for like, oh, this is going to be, this will make it all good for me because it'll be darker. Like it's not going to be like that. You're going to be disappointed if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, it still has. I'll get drive through. It still has.
Do they have more
the ass shot? It has all that type of stuff.
They have more Stickley in there.
There's not a lot of more Stickley. I'm sorry.
What the hell is going on here?
And then the third thing is that this is not that much longer than the theatrical version. Mark Bernardin, when he first claimed about this, he said that there is a 170-minute cut in the WB vault, which would make it 2 hours and 50 minutes, close to 3 hours. That's not at all what this is. What I saw was about closer to 2 hours and 15 minutes, which is about 10 to 15 minutes longer than what we actually saw. So if Bernardin is accurate that there is a 3 hour cut, that's likely the assembly cut. that's probably the beginning stages of putting all the scenes together, because there's some stuff in here that I know was shot that we just didn't see in this cut, either because of the fact that you see it in the DVD from 2005. Like, there are certain deleted scenes that we've seen on YouTube already that aren't in this specific cut. So if you were to put those back in, as well as some of the other scenes that we know are in the theatrical cut, they were shot later, you probably get something closer to maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes. Like, it wouldn't be that much longer.
That's not even longer than most of our episodes, man.
Yeah, that's true. All right, guys. So I figure let's just go down the rabbit hole of the different differences, and you guys can chime in terms of your reactions to what you're hearing. All right. So let's go into the Schumacher cut. So we do start with the WB logo with the Elliot Goldenthal Batman music, which is what you would expect. But then it very quickly changes, because the first image that you see, that we saw, and I had never seen before, is simply the street outside of Arkham as the rain hits the pavement.
Ooh.
It's a darker, grittier first image. And then the music changes, not to continuing the Elliot Goldenthal music of Batman, but the Elliot Goldenthal music from other darker R-rated movies that they used here. Again, this is temp music. That doesn't necessarily mean that this was the original score. It's music from existing sources to give an idea during the edit of what the scenes could play out. Was that?
Oh, is that placeholder, basically?
Yeah, it's a placeholder. So it's just to give it a certain feel. It's, I don't want people to come away with this being like, actually, they were originally going to put this music to it. I'm like, no, that's just in the temp track. But it is cool to hear it. And a YouTuber named Mayan Kidzag helped me sort of compile a list or identify some of the music there, since Mind is also very familiar with the music that was used and familiar with different film scores. So it's a lot of exterior shots of the gate of Arkham, and everything is just red due to the state of the storm. It's kind of like the posters for the Batman.
In
that. So creates this heightened world, and it just immediately hit me that on YouTube, you can see some of these deleted scenes of Batman Forever, but there's more to each one of them. What I saw was a different cut of each deleted scene that had made it into the Workprint cut. So this one has additional shots of Arkham. And then we go inside and we meet Dr. Burton, the head of Arkham Asylum, played by Renee Auberjonois. And they put on music from Demolition Man. It's specifically a track called Dies Irae that is very like sort of intense as he's walking through. And he's like, there's a shot of him like looking through clipboard that we don't see in the YouTube version or the one that they released previously. But the whole idea is the same. He goes into Harvey Dent's cell to talk to him and finds that Harvey's not there. Two-Face has escaped. There's a guard in his place. And there's a message with "The Bat Must Die." And what I'm pulling up here is not the shot of "The Bat Must Die" shot from the deleted scene. Is actually from the U2 music video for "Hold Me, Can We Kiss Me, Thrill Me." That shot is what was in the Workprint cut that I saw. And maybe it's because it's a little more ambiguous in terms of it being blood, because I think the other one is more clearly blood.
If you look at it, though, not to be this guy and think like Dirty Mind or something, but if you think it's something else, it's like kind of gives you a whole nother implication of what Two-Face might have been doing in his cell to write out those.
I don't know what you're talking about. He just had a lot of white paint lying around.
Clearly, it's totally not that other thing. Shut up, Alex. So, anyway.
You do see like the big hole in the ceiling like you see in the DVD, but like there's like more lightning than what you see in the version of YouTube. And music from Cape Fear, the De Niro remake, is what they ended up using.
I don't think I've seen that movie.
Specifically the theme for Max, because De Niro's character. It's funny because De Niro in Cape Fear, I always thought kind of looked a little bit like Tommy Lee Jones, so it is kind of fits. But that's sort of the temp track theme for Two-Face throughout this cut is music from Cape Fear.
They kind of do look the same a little bit. I could kind of see that, yeah.
And after this, the film wouldn't cut to, Bruce Wayne suiting up as Batman just yet. We don't get that till later. It goes into Wayne Enterprises, and we get sort of this extended exterior shot outside of Wayne Enterprises. I love that shot of Wayne Enterprises from Batman Forever. This is the best looking Wayne Tower I've seen, is what I always think when I see it, even though I know it's obviously computer generated. But what was cool was I wasn't expecting how long the shot was going to go, because it does keep zooming in on Wayne Enterprises up into a window, and in that window is a TV screen showing the origin of Two-Face.
Oh wow!
This is where we get the Two-Face origin story, And it's what we've seen in theatrical cut up to a point. So the trial, Boss Maroni throws the acid. Kilmer's Batman is like, in the courtroom, which everyone laughs at. But again, that's true to the Golden Age Two-Face origin, right?
Mm-hmm.
He runs up to try to stop it. He's too late. Two-Face, Harvey becomes Two-Face because he gets hit with the acid. But then there's some stuff that was a lot different. One is that they confirmed a bit from the script, mentioning that Dent was a favorite for running for mayor. Something that we wouldn't see until the Telltale series, I don't think. So that part I verified when I was listening to it. The Boss Maroni scene happens, and then there's extended footage of Harvey in a hospital with bandages covering his face, almost like the Invisible Man, or like what you saw when it kind of feels like Schumacher's attempt to bring the Batman animated series Two-Face two-parter to life, because
he was watching that show, clearly. He was watching, or someone that worked at that studio was watching it, because like there's some Mr. Freeze. I'm sure that's what you're about to say, Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin, as well, with like his backstory in that.
Yeah. There's a bit of that here with the unraveling of the bandages, and it's instead of the doctor being like, there's like two nurses, and they like scream once the bandages all come out.
Nice.
So not quite. It comes off a lot cheesier. And like the Batman the animated series was a lot darker in terms of how they shot it, and maybe that's why they cut part of it. But I appreciated that was there, because it was like, oh, I've really never seen any of this before. So that was cool. And then the TV pretty much gets turned off, and you get to see Kilmer's Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Except it's like, I think they knew if we were going to introduce Bruce Wayne, we kind of got to give him an entrance. So this is not what I was expecting. It's inside his office, the office where, he's eventually going to be like, chair. He's in his office, but it's like he's in silhouette. And like the music sort of swells up a little bit to sort of indicate, oh, this is Batman in his civilian identity. And like there's this mood lighting and stuff. And it's like, it's him taking a moment. And maybe he's absorbing what happened in terms of knowing that Two-Face is out there and thinking back to his old friend. And then you get this whole sequence where an entourage of different aides arrive. And we've seen some of these characters before in the previous, in the theatrical stuff. But this is where we get a lot more of these aides and assistants, and he's managing business deals. And I was looking out for this line, and I can thank other fans for helping me for verifying this. But one guy brings up to Bruce, New York is closing soon. We should dump the whole lot on LexCorp.
Oh, wow.
So really? LexCorp is mentioned, and the aide who tells him that is played by Jon Favreau.
Nice. Get out of town.
Yeah. So we can see here, Jon Favreau was in the theatrical cut. For those who don't know, you can see him, but he never has a line in the theatrical cut. He had lines in the Workprint cut that I saw, and his intro is him talking about is mentioning LexCorp, which is funny considering the fact that this is the man who will eventually direct and co-star in the beginning of the MCU, where things are interconnected. And this is a Batman movie, the first Batman movie with any reference to Superman, even in the existing theatrical cut, with the whole Circus is halfway to Metropolis by now line. Like
that's what I was going to bring up. Because I'm like, that doesn't surprise. Like at first, I was like, that is still surprising. But like with that whole Metropolis line, and then the next one, this is why Superman works alone. It does not surprise me that like they would have like another line, kind of like teasing the possibility of like other superheroes in that universe.
Yeah. So that was kind of mind blowing that's there, and it was in the script. But sometimes you're just like, they might be like, oh, we don't know. Let's just talk about stocks, but. Can verify LexCorp is mentioned. We kind of have a little funny bit where Bruce is told that Gossip Gertie, the reporter, is on line 1, and the Japanese prime minister is on line 2. He picks up the phone and he's like, "Hi, gorgeous." And then he's like, "Oh, Mr. Prime Minister," because he got it wrong in terms of who's on the line. And then Kilmer starts speaking in Japanese and stuff. And this is pure like BTAS Bruce Wayne, and people who've seen this have felt this way too, right? This is smooth operator, Bruce Wayne, businessman. He's being thrown at 5 or 6 different things at once, and eventually he's walking towards the office door. Again, this is the same door from Door in the
Stickley's
theatrical cut.
taller than him here, like unrelated, but I just noticed that them standing next to each other. Like I've never noticed. Stickley is taller than Bruce here, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. So Bruce is like walking out the door, and he's like, he turns back, he's like, all right, I need everyone to breathe, because he's about to go on the tour of Stickley's department. And then as he walks off, he says to himself, I got to tell Margaret to give myself a raise. So like, it's a fun beginning. It doesn't have a huge tie into anything that happens plot wise, but I think it was meant to serve as Bruce Wayne's introduction. And I would guess that when they wanted to have a more action packed opening, they're like, well, what better way to introduce Batman than have him dress up as Batman?
Drive-through,
and have him go get drive-through,
yeah.
So, and then we get the Elfman score. So the Elfman score has been used here. The Clown Attack track that plays in '89, where the mimes are outside City Hall, that was playing during this whole, LexCorp, Prime Minister's on line 1, like that stuff is playing. And then it switches to the Breakfast Machine music from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, wow.
As we get to the inside of Wayne Enterprises. And as Bruce is going on his tour, we meet Edward Nygma for the first time. And it's a shot that we've seen in the YouTube music video that we didn't see in the theatrical, where like Edward is preparing, right? It's this extended introduction. And here he's kind of, it introduces his fascination with Bruce Wayne. And we have the script for that scene, thanks to Mine Kid Zach. And we thought it'd be fun for us to sort of reenact certain scenes that Tim and I did not put in the audio drama. We didn't know what was going to be in the cut, but now we do. So I'm going to have Alex narrate, and Tim will be Edward Nygma. So take it away, guys.
A clutter of computer parts, paperwork everywhere, Rubik's Cubes, games, dozens of puzzle, books, all boasting the green-suited caricature of the guesser. Edward Nygma, awkward, brilliant, feverishly working and talking to himself.
We'll probably be dining at Wayne Manor together. Bruce, could you pass the gravy boat? What's that? I forgot you have people who do that, don't you? Yes. A party in my honor? I should have rented a tuxedo. What? One of yours, Bruce? Why not? We are the same size.
So it's that part leading up to Carrie looking out the window being like, oh my God, it's him. So like it's sort of a longer introduction.
Nice job, by the way. Nice job.
Yes. Bravo, guys. We'll be doing several scenes. Yeah, we'll be doing several scenes.
Just really quick, I wanted to highlight, I believe this line or a version of this line was in the 90s audio drama version of Batman Forever. And I can distinctly remember the voice actor doing that line about the gravy boat. And at the time, I'd never even heard of a gravy boat, so I didn't even know what that was.
Me either, actually.
Yeah. But then later to find out that was actually in the earlier, or originally in the script, I should say. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear that 90s audio, to get the little bits like that. Like it doesn't have the full Batcave with a giant bat scene in it, but it has like little bits and pieces like that. You're like, oh, like when you look at the past scripts, you're like, that's where that came from.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
The scene of Bruce meeting Nygma is pretty much the same. There's some music from Elfman's Darkman that ends up happening. And that's not Darkman. But there's music from Darkman that plays when Edward introduces the box. So again, this is different type of music, slightly darker music. The Darkman theme kind of serves as kind of a Riddler theme, because we start hearing it a lot more with Claw Island later on in the movie. But during this, Bruce sees the bat signal during the meeting with Edward, like we saw in the theatrical cut, except in this context, it's to alert him to stop Two-Face at the bank rather than Chase Meridian's false alarm in the theatrical cut. So he has to excuse himself. Same stuff pretty much happens in terms of, rejecting Edward. Edward's pissed. He does the whole, chair thing, and that's where we get some cool music from Demolition Man. The track Firefight plays, which is like this sort of synth percussion type of thing that amps you up. And when he emerges and he takes off the jacket, that's when the screen fills up with a bat and says Batman Forever.
Okay. Nice. All right.
I like that.
That's cool.
This is all credits thing. Temp track wise, we got Elfman's Batman music now playing as we get the suit up scene. And even plays a little bit too from sort of where they play the Batman theme in the Up the Cathedral track in '89. That plays when Batman has made it to the top of the stairs and about to tell Alfred he's going to get drive-through, which is still in this. I'll get drive-through is still in this. And after he says that, we hear the beginning of what seems like an unused opening of a track that I'm familiar with, and it's Goldenthal's. If you have the soundtrack, there's a track that says themes from Batman Forever, and it's like this intense clanging or percussion that starts it before going into the Batman theme. I think that was what's supposed to play here before he gets in the Batmobile, and then he takes off.
Wow.
Because it doesn't really have that in the theatrical cut. So we get him in the Batmobile. There's some new footage of the Batmobile leaving in terms of it like exiting the forest. Not quite the Descent into Mystery type of stuff. Like it's still like just the entrance a little bit. So it's not quite the same dirt road, but it's a little bit. It's different. And then we cut to the bank. Crowd shots are pretty much the same, except we hear the police telling people to clear out, and they're clearly not listening to that because they're all like, they're all waiting for Batman with the bat signal. So I thought that was interesting. We get the Two-Face introduction, and for those who are wondering, Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face is not that dramatically different from the theatrical cut. If you're looking for a different type of Two-Face, or think that his performance was killed in the editing room, it's just not the case. It's the same over-the-top performance, just with different line reading. Sometimes it's a little bit more subdued, but overall it's the same version. And you can tell because they do have this shot where Two-Face is dancing. He's like fist pumping and dancing in anticipation for Batman's arrival on the elevator. So
does he
we have
the doodah luck, the
Doodah luck
blind stupid doodah luck.
That's still in it. What's not in it is the line, "Boys kill the bat." That's not it.
Really
Interesting.
Because I guess they thought, it's generally understood that he's going to have them shoot up the elevator.
Yeah.
And then,
boys, do your job.
Or just say boys,
Yeah.
And then as Batman comes out of the elevator, we get something that was in the trailer that was not in the theatrical cut, which is he comes out and he knocks them down, and then he says, "Going down." That's in the Workprint cut. So that's in here.
Really?
We get some extra shots of the fight of Batman fighting the henchman, which kind of just felt like it dragged the pacing of the fight a bit. So I get why they did that. And then we have Batman going to the vault, getting trapped in the vault with the guard. And we have some additional dialogue from Two-Face bringing up that it's been like 2 years since Batman first abandoned him to Arkham, and says happy anniversary in there. So it's kind of slightly more menacing. It's just a little bit more to that context. We kind of already have that exposition in the theatrical cut from Chase, right? That's been from Chase and Batman in terms of it being 2 years since the day that he captured Two-Face. But it's kind of cool that there was another thing that cemented that. And then inside the vault, for those wondering, the guard does not say, "Oh no, it's boiling acid." That's not in there. I think they just figured that was generally understood, and maybe they threw that in case test audiences weren't sure what the liquid was. So I could see that being the case. We have this small moment that Alex and I both really like, and I'm sure you like this too, Tim. I do not have this in the audio drama, so we'll just maybe, Alex, we can just do the dialogue.
We're gonna do the Mad Hatter cut, right? Like the novelization. We'll talk about that later at the end, what that means.
And we got to redo this audio now with these scenes. But this is one where the acid is filling up the vault. Alex, you can be the guard. And so Batman turns to the guard, and he's like, "Know the combination?"
"No, don't you have a bat something in that belt to blow the door?"
"Acid's flammable. We'd incinerate." So I like that because it shows his scientific knowledge, as well as like answers maybe some audience's questions in terms of like, well, can't Batman just use what's in his utility belt? So I like that bit. Again, just some cool stuff that really shows the character. I'm always about that. So the fact that he was willing to risk his life for this guard in the vault shows the heroism of Batman. The fact that he is smart enough to know that that's not the way out shows the intelligence. So I do miss that.
I like that. Yeah. I like that little part. Yep.
Yeah. So shame it was cut. I would prefer that other than the boiling acid line. But, this is kind of what happens in movie making. You have to make it clear to the audience. And I guess maybe audiences at that time didn't really know what was going on as much. So they got kind of a little bit more of the on the nose type of thing of the guy calling out what it was. We do get a little bit more of the guard in terms of just an additional shot of when Batman, gets the door open and brings him up. We see a little bit more of the guard hanging on before Batman returns the vault back into the wall. So that was cool. And we get a little bit more Two-Face from stuff that we do get to see from other sources. So there's a deleted bit from the script where Two-Face is looking down and he's considering shooting Batman, but then he flips the coin. It comes up clean side up. And we get this shot from the YouTube music video that is the shot that's in the Workprint cut of him seeing that's clean side up. And so he decides, hey, like, if I'm not going to shoot him with the gun, then we'll just kill him with a helicopter, which is then leads to the line from the trailer that I always loved as a kid, which is, if the bat wants to play, we'll play. So that context is in there. For those familiar with the trailer, wondering where that line was, that's the full context of it, where he knows he can't shoot Batman, so he's going to try to get him off with the chain. He's trying to find a loophole with the clean side coming up.
What do we think
version of the character? What's up?
What do we think about that? Like, because he has a moment later too where he like keeps flipping the coin until he gets the result he wants, and then he shoots like Bruce. Like, that betrayal of the character, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's just like, dude, that's not how it works. Like, you have to honor like the coin or whatever it says, basically.
Yeah, I think this moment felt true to this version of the character who was continuously flipping the coin. But if it was any other version of Two-Face, I'd be like, okay, that's way off. And so this one, I'm kind of already going in knowing that's the characterization. And so it didn't bother me as much. But yeah, as a big Two-Face fan, I've always sort of interpreted this to be more of like, okay, they went way too much on the evil side and stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that was cut from the script that would have played more with duality, like the part in the script where we weren't originally supposed to see the scarred side until he threatens his own man, right? Like, that part was a better way to show the duality, and the duality of Two-Face really got lost. Unfortunately,
well, I remember originally watching the movie, like the version I had seen, and it's weird in that final scene because you haven't heard him talk like this, or at least the version I watched. I didn't hear him talk normal, so it's like, of course you're right, Bruce. Thank you. You've always been a good friend. Like, it's weird hearing him like have that voice, because the whole rest of the time you don't hear him have like that very normal voice. Yeah, it's usually just like that crazy, ghoulish like voice that he has for the rest of the movie, basically.
Yeah. So again, this cut doesn't dramatically improve the Two-Face characterization. It's just kind of, if you go in accepting that that's the version of Two-Face, then you get a little bit of extra bits. If you're expecting that there's going to be more duality, more depth to the character, you're going to be very disappointed. So that's kind of the downside of it. But I wasn't really expecting that they were going to have more to that character in this take. It's just not where the emphasis was on.
Well, it's like the Suicide Squad, like the supposed David Ayer cut, and I'm like, with the Joker, it's like, oh, he has more scenes. I'm like, I don't think it's going to dramatically improve Jared Leto's performance in that movie, man. I think that like the version we got, like, yeah, there might be more scenes where he's a bit different, but you still have those other scenes. It's not going to magically pull those scenes out where he's acting like kind of off in certain parts of it. Like, I don't know. That's just like the take I have with this too, where it's like, if you like it, you like it. If it's one of those things, like, it's not going to be a radically different thing, like you were saying. Yeah,
pretty much. We do get some added shots of the helicopter smashes through the eye that you saw in the theatrical cut, but we see a little bit more of it coming through the other side, through like a billboard. So some added stuff. Again, you can see how like they clean it up in the cut to make it faster paced. This is not really stuff that people are yearning to have. Like, I need that extra shot of the billboard. Like, it was fine the way it was in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
The next deleted scene that you can see on the 2005 DVD Blu-ray is where there's a little bit more of a conversation between Two-Face and Batman on the helicopter. And we did put this in the audio, where Two-Face says in that version of the scene, he says, "You're a killer too, and you know it." And what was interesting is in this cut, we have Batman smashing through, and he does the whole like, "You need help, Harvey. Give it up." And then it's just a medium shot of Two-Face saying back, "You're a killer too." And then he has more of an emphasis on the two. I don't know if that was Tommy Lee Jones trying to play around with the two pun.
Probably.
But I'm just like,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the line delivery better in the release deleted scene, but it's slightly different because it is more of an exchange. There was more lines of Two-Face in the deleted scenes you see in the DVD, and it was all in wide shot, and I think Kilmer wasn't there. It was a stunt double for Batman, and I don't know if Kilmer actually shot more of his side of that. But all you really need is the "you're a killer." Like that's the line that you need, because that kicks off this entire subplot, which is the whole reason why people want this cut. Is this whole subplot dealing with Bruce and his traumas? So we get the helicopter crashing to Lady Gotham, and like that's all pretty much the same. But then as Batman's falling, I wasn't expecting this because the way that we did it in the audio is that Batman falls into the water, and when he's in the water, that's when he's getting all these flashes, and Two-Face saying "you're a killer too." The way they do it in this version of the movie, he's falling like he's hold on, let me do this demonstration. He's like this.
Oh wow. He's doing flips and shit.
Yeah, well, it's just more like it's their way of showing that he's falling and he's thinking about all these things, and we get different visions of flashing back to his parents' deaths, and it's new shots. It's not just stuff that we saw in the theatrical cut. This is very much like that Batman the Animated Series episode where he's under Scarecrow's fear toxin or he's dreaming and like this giant gun comes out.
I remember that. Yeah,
it's this.
Really?
This close up of this gun constantly firing as he's like remembering back to his parents' deaths. I'm just like, geez, okay, this is where the dark stuff comes in. Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was nuts. And then he lands in the water and pretty much, looks up and he sees Lady Gotham has been partially destroyed in the face that reflects Two-Face. But that part I was not expecting it to be like that. I just thought because I've seen it in a few fan edits where he just hits the water and then they just have a few flashes. But this was more extensive than that. We do have the same sequence afterwards where Edward Nygma gets confronted by Stickley. So if you would like to do Stickley's line, Alex, because I know this is your dream to be this role.
Oh, here we go. All right. What the hell is going on here?
Bravo.
Should have played him for the audio drama.
Yeah. Oh, when we make the other cut, totally.
Yeah, when you make the extended cut, yeah.
And go like, back to work, Edward.
That's spot on.
We'll call it the Maxwell cut. Disrespectful because Tim Maxwell was on record saying he was happy with the other cut.
That's right. You don't want to disrespect. Yeah, that's.
No, it's the Stickley cut. That's right. Yeah.
We're gonna. Yeah. That's hilarious.
The music for the box kind of goes back and forth. So there's like almost this chaotic guitar rock music for a little bit, which is a little similar to the music that would be in that infamous laundry foo scene where Dick is playing around with the clothes. So we get a little bit of that, but we also have this eerie theme that has been identified as being Nino Rota's theme for Fellini's Casanova movie. So it's this very like it's almost like a xylophone or something. I don't quite know what it is, but it's very eerie, high-pitched theme that starts playing as Stickley's under the thrall of the box.
Wait, Ben, I want to go back to something you said for a second here. You said infamous when you were talking about the laundry scene. I think you meant like famous. That's an amazing scene right there. The laundry food scene. You kidding me? Come on, man.
We have difference of opinion on that, maybe, but yes, I did not put that in the audio drama.
Damn it! Yeah, we got to do it over. I'm sorry. We got to do another cut.
I didn't hear any complaints from Tim when I didn't have that in the script, so I think
we were fine.
Yeah.
Oh man, bunch of haters. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We have so this is partially to fulfill Alex's dream of being Stickley, but also we have an additional line from Edward here. So I'll have Alex as Stickley and Tim as Edward Nygma. So here we go. Go ahead, Alex.
What the hell just happened?
A surprising side effect. While you were mesmerized by my 3D TV, I utilized your neural energy to grow smarter. And yet, now that my beam is off, your intelligence, as it were, has returned to normal with no memory of my cerebral siphon. I am a Columbus of the mind. Landho.
Bruce Wayne was right. You demented, bizarre, unethical toad. It is mind manipulation. I'm reporting you to the FCC, the Human Experimentation Board, the AMA, the police, the federal government. You're going up on charges to court, to jail, and then to a mental institution for the rest of your twisted little life. But first and foremost, Nygma, you are fired. And do you hear me? Fired.
Bravo, Alex. And Tim. So, but yeah, it's this additional line. We have a variation of it in the audio drama, but I'm sure you guys caught it too, with the additional line of like, hey, like when the beam is off, people's intelligence remains the same and returns to normal without realizing that he had sucked out their brainwaves, which is a cool bit because of the fact that it sort of explains how nobody seems to know that their brainwaves have been sucked out. Like it kind of adds a little bit to how the tech works.
Yeah.
Yeah, memory loss,
Yeah, I do like that. And then, of course, when he tells Edward that he's fired, Edward has the same reaction. He pushes him out the window. Stickley's scream here is a little different because he's got the like it's not quite like that in the Workprint cut, but it does seem like it's been kind of like some previous screams have been like pasted in from like other sources, so it doesn't quite work either.
Do we have the Wilhelm scream in this? The Wilhelm one? Does he do that?
This is not a Wilhelm scream. No, it's just kind of Ed Begley Jr. doing his own screams as he's like heading towards the window.
Performance, I'm sure.
The what?
A brilliant performance, I'm sure.
Yes. And then after Edward kills Stickley, we get this bit where he goes back to his cubicle and takes down the Bruce Wayne magazine articles. So of Alex narrate and Tim will continue as Edward.
In a frenzy, Edward begins tearing Bruce's images off his wall.
2 years. 3.5762% of my estimated lifespan toiling for your greater glory and profit.
He smashes the frame GQ cover of Bruce on the floor, begins stomping the picture, pulverizing the glass.
Well, let me ask you some questions. Mr. Smarter Than Thou, why are you so debonair, successful, richer than God? Why should you have it all and not me?
All right. I like this scene because it was kind of it basically is a little bit more of the representation of Edward feeling betrayed by Bruce, and it's kind of sinister in a way too, of him like destroying everything too. Like it's really well done by Carey as well.
The novelization that we went over too. It's more about like, why do you have stuff I don't, kind of thing. Like we went over in the Patreon novelization, where it's more about like, why do you have stuff that basically he feels owed, kind of thing.
Yeah. For those on the $5 Patreon tier, we went over the Alan Grant Jr. novelization on the Patreon tier, so you guys can check that out if you want. But clearly, Alan Grant was going off of this script.
Yeah,
and I can verify it is in the Workprint version of the movie, so it was shot. And you can kind of see a little bit of it because in the theatrical cut, there's this shot where he's about to go, he's crawling towards the security camera, but that's after he smashed the glass, and you can kind of see the glass right around here.
Nice.
That's where that's where he's been smashing Bruce Wayne's picture. So that is actually kind of in the theatrical cut.
That's a frame right there, like next to his arm. Yeah, okay, I can kind of see that too. Nice.
Moving my mouse around it, my cursor around it.
Yeah, I see it.
So really cool to kind of see the connections. And then we would have seen Bruce have the full-on nightmare flashback of he's the boy running through the storm with his book that we get a close-up of the book too. It's called Daily Journal on it. The red book, and he's running and he ends up falling into the cave and he sees the bat coming for him. And then as it comes for him, that's when he wakes up in a shot that we've seen in the YouTube music video. Again, it's a treasure trove of different deleted shots that's there. But we have this, and we have a full-on scene that was deleted with Bruce waking up in his bedroom and Alfred showing up. And so we're going to try to reenact that scene. I don't know if this is, let me try to, if this is big enough for everybody to read.
There we go. I can kind of see that.
All right. Tim, you can narrate, and then Alex will be Alfred and I'll be Bruce.
In his bed, Bruce wakes, trying to blink away the images. Alfred draws the curtains, welcoming rich autumn sun.
Dreams, sir?
No time for dreams. Status?
The Bat computer has been scanning the emergency bands all night. No sign of Two-Face. He's disappeared.
He'll be back. Did you get those file tapes from Arkham Asylum?
In the players, sir, and ready. What a marvelous shade of purple. Really, if you insist on trying to get yourself killed each night.
Alfred picks up Bruce's carelessly tossed batsuit from the floor. Ripped, dented, punctured.
Would it be a terrible imposition to ask you to take better care of your equipment?
Well, then you'd have nothing to complain about. So I like the scene because again, it's more Bruce Wayne, it's a little bit more of Bruce and Alfred, and there's a little bit of, it seems almost foreshadowing of the banter we would get between Bill and Michael Caine in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Michael Caine.
Yes.
I think the part with Batman's costume just being on the floor,
Mhm.
you know, a little messed up, reminds me of a scene in The Flash with Michael Keaton's
yeah.
Batman, where
Mhm.
you kind of have a bloodied costume on the floor, I think, while he's sewing himself up.
Yeah.
And obviously the conversation isn't there, but just the idea of not putting it back where it belongs, just kind of ripping it off and tossing it to the floor and moving on to the next thing seems like the same thing is happening here. It's funny.
Yeah. Now, we don't have a full-on shot of the bat suit on the floor, but we do have Alfred walking around or picking up like a discarded cowl. So pretty close, right?
There you go.
And then after this bit where Bruce says that there'd be nothing to complain about, you know, he's drinking tea as Alfred turns on the TV, and the reporter, whom we know is Kenneth Frequency, he's in another scene, but Kenneth Frequency shows up here, and Chase shows up defending Batman on TV, saying that Batman is not the cause for criminals. And that's a similar line that, once again, we put in the Neuverse audio that I didn't even think was shot, but it's in it. It's here. Nicole Kidman did it. So that was cool. And Bruce then has dialogue about his memories of his parents' wake, wondering why he really became Batman, because now he's getting haunted by these dreams of him running away in the storm. And we have similar dialogue that we put in a later scene in the audio drama that we did for Neuverse Creative, but you'll hear that a little bit later because that gets combined with another deleted scene that's in this Workprint cut. But essentially, Bruce is thinking back to the night that he saw the bat, but he's not sure, you know, what was I running away from? Why did I become Batman? Like all that type of stuff. Like he's ruminating on the stuff that we know is going to pay off later. And then in the background, Alfred picks up the phone and finds out something's happened at Wayne Enterprises. And that's that bit made into the theatrical cut. In the theatrical cut, it makes it look like Bruce Wayne is watching the TV about Harvey Dent getting turned into Two-Face. And in the background, Alfred picks up the phone, finds out something happened in Wayne Enterprises. Here, Bruce is actually watching Chase. He's watching Chase Meridian after this conversation about, you know, why he became Batman and stuff. So, again, it's kind of cool to see everything in a different context.
Yeah.
We do get same stuff when we get to Wayne Enterprises. Edward is pretending to mourn Stickley, but there's no score that plays. And it comes off as more sinister because it's just Carrie pretending that he's mourning over this guy. Another thing that they also make clear is that the guy who's talking to him and giving him, you know, the Kleenex and stuff, that's not a cop. I always thought that wasn't like a cop who was talking to him. It turns out that's a Wayne Enterprises employee from the previous scene with the AIDS. And I guess that guy gets a promotion as a scientist because that same actor is one of the scientists who gets threatened by Mr. Freeze on the giant telescope in Batman and Robin. So that was kind of funny. Then Edward does go home. There's no Flaming Lips music at this point. It's different, almost like a wacky 60s circus theme that kind of comes off creepier because we kind of get the serial killer-esque sequence because Edward is now cutting out like different words out of different magazines. And he takes a magazine cover. This blew my mind because I had never heard about this. He takes a magazine cover of Val Kilmer's Bruce and he starts cutting out the eyes of it. And he cuts the mouth out of it. And then he puts it over his own face at one point. Very serial killer-esque.
Wow.
And he has his eyes poking out. And he like sticks his tongue out through the Bruce Wayne magazine cover. It's creepy. It's slightly goofy the way that he plays it, but it's almost just like
it's scary.
it's like a mix of both, which kind of makes it work, right? Like
sounds creepy.
Yeah, and it foreshadows.
It reminds me of a scene from Truman Show where Jim Carrey is cutting out different parts of women's faces in magazines to create an image of the girl that he loved in college. I don't know if you remember
I love that movie. That movie.
Yeah, me too. When you described him cutting out the magazine with the eyes and everything, it just reminded me of that sequence where he's cutting out pieces to try to kind of patch this image together of this woman.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I think Truman Show came after Batman Forever.
It did.
So,
it kind of feels like Carrey's just like, there was this really cool scene that I did. In the cut. So why don't we do it for this one?
Yeah. And they're like, how do we do that? And we don't have Val Kilmer in this one, so we'll do something else.
But yeah, that again blew me away because I'd never heard of anything like that. It's not in any of the scripts. Maybe it was just Carrie just riffing and thought like this would be really creepy, and they tried it out, and maybe people just thought, okay, that's a little too much. But it does sort of foreshadow him wanting to become Bruce, because later on you got him wearing the same suit and the fake mole, and then doing the whole glasses thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of foreshadows all that.
Yeah.
Bruce's visit to Chase Meridian, exactly the same. There's not really anything new that I noticed. Then we get to the circus, and we have this sort of weird Cirque du Soleil music that they put in here that just doesn't really work the same way, called Kunya Sabe or Sobe. And it's very different. It's very, I don't know. I don't know the best way to describe it, but it's got like this is chanting going on. It doesn't really work in comparison to what the score is, which kind of brings up like sometimes the temp music really makes it darker, and other times the temp music just makes you like it just pulls you out of it. And I think that's what was happening here. One really cool thing that I brought up to Alex offline is that when the trapeze act is happening, there's a shot from John Grayson who says, "Fly, Robin, fly."
Fly, Robin, fly.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Foreshadowing of the Lego Batman movie. But I also loved it because I'm just like, it really sets up well that scene later on where he tells Alfred, my father would call me, he said I flew in like a robin, It sort of plants that so that I can get paid off later. And it's just not quite as impactful in the theatrical cut where like he sort of just already introduces that at the same time. Like if we heard John Grayson call him that as Robin earlier, then that would have paid off with the explanation later. And plus, audiences, you're signed up, that this is going to be Robin. Like he's in the Robin comic outfit and in the Graysons. I don't think we need to like keep that a secret. So
you should go by your real name, Robin.
It'd be way more fitting.
Two-Face still threatens the circus. Same stuff happens. There's not really much that's dramatically different. There's only one added moment where Two-Face is doing kind of a countdown, and he's like, "You have 1 minute and 22 seconds." Back to stuff.
Yeah.
we don't need that. Yeah, we didn't need it, but it was kind of cool just to see because some of the stuff like I'd never seen before. We got a little bit of the music from Batman Returns when Batman's fighting the Red Triangle Circus. That's kind of playing at the same time as other stuff. The temp music was all over the place at this point, but the Graysons are trying to stop the bomb. Death of the Graysons all pretty much happened the same way, and we end up going to pretty much all the same stuff. Seems to be the same up until the garage when Bruce brings Dick Grayson into, is this a garage or a car museum, Bruce? Like, that's pretty much the same. And then when Alfred's like, perhaps the dogs are hungry, and he walks away,
perhaps
and Dick says, wait up, Al. He says, wait up, Al. We actually get to see Dick catch up to him and like take, grab a fry or something and eat on their way out. So it's a little bit of extended thing. Again, we don't need it, but it was kind of cool to see like, oh, there was more. There's just a little bit more. So that's what we got with pretty much the first act or so. And real quick before we continue, we're going to take a short break. Instead of an ad read, what we usually do is a charity read, and the charity for this episode goes to the same one as last time because of recent events. So last time we promoted the GoFundMe for Peter David, and unfortunately between that episode and the recording of this episode, Peter David passed away. He was the writer of several different comics, but on this podcast, we've covered so much of his novelizations, especially the Batman Forever novelizations. And unfortunately, he passed away shortly after the release of our last episode. This GoFundMe, however, is still active because it will go towards paying off the remaining medical bills that were unfortunately accumulated due to his condition. And I'm sure some of it could also help out the family. So we promote this type of stuff because if you're going to read or watch superheroes, become one yourself, especially towards the people who helped form your perception of superheroes. So please donate. The GoFundMe link is in the description below, but just to read it off, it's gofundme.com/f/help-peter-david. So thank you for that. All right, on to the rest of this. So we do have Bruce flashing back a little bit more to how his parents were killed, and you get to hear a little bit more stuff. The Waynes are kind of talking. You hear Martha's laugh, all these different things that you don't hear in the theatrical cut, which is really surreal. Was Martha's laugh? I'm like, oh damn. But he kind of gets brought out of it by Alfred. Similar thing to the theatrical cut, But when he says, I killed them, and Alfred says, you said I killed them. Like the temp score for it kind of highlights that a little bit more. It has like this foreboding feel to it. Whereas in the theatrical cut, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of sort of a weird moment because it doesn't pay off later on. It just sort of just happens.
Yeah.
I always thought it was a weird thing in the theatrical cut. I'm like, I wonder why Bruce says that. And then that would just be my reaction to it each time I saw the movie until I found out later on what this, wonderful emotional subplot was going to be.
Yeah.
We do have the same scene where Alfred talks to Dick about, like, one day Robin will fly again. And then when Alfred leaves, the scene keeps going as Dick looks into his suitcase, and inside is this newspaper clipping of Two-Face and about how Two-Face killed. He says he perished. I think it's about to say that the performers perished at the charity circus.
Who do you think took this picture?
I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be a mugshot.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
It's a glamorous shot. He's kind of like, oh, hello. Yeah, it's a kind of lucky.
Yeah, I love that these movies many times, like, it looks like it's like a production still. It's like a picture that they officially took sometime on set or something.
I've seen this picture. I've seen the colorized version of it.
Yeah.
You look up Google Images, it's like Two-Face, like this one will come up in full color. Basically, this definitely is a production still.
Yeah,
I think the most glaring thing is when Bruce is looking at Chase Meridian, and it's like this glamour shot of Nicole Kidman with her hair like flowing in slow motion. I'm just okay, so this is a random. This was a random
Who
shot.
the hell shot this? Like, it's just like,
yeah.
Did she also do like a photo shoot in addition to being like a psychiatrist and everything? Like,
Maybe, yeah.
What's happening here?
Yeah. So this specific shot that I'm showing is from the deleted scene where Dick Grayson is hitting, the Wing Chun dummy, which he's pasted this newspaper clipping on it. Now, that scene is not in the Workprint cut, but this newspaper is. It's just in this moment after Alfred leaves where Dick Grayson pulls out the newspaper, he looks at it, and he sort of like looks up. So you kind of know, like, he wants vengeance. He wants to kill Two-Face.
Cool.
We cut to the bat signal. The bat signal is not a beeper. Like, that scene's all pretty much the same, except we hear Nicole Kidman say last night at the circus, not last night at the bank. That was ADR'd because obviously it was a different order, right, in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
This one makes more sense because of the fact that she actually saw Two-Face flip the coin at the circus. She did not see Two-Face at all at the bank. So, like, that part doesn't quite make sense in the theatrical cut. But here, it's because the order was changed around. So he does that. Batman, he hears about that. He jumps off the rooftop, goes in the Batmobile, women. And then he takes off, and the Batmobile, there's additional Batmobile shots. It does kind of feel like some of the other stuff where it's like it kind of ruins the pacing a little bit, where it's sort of just, you almost like it's just starting up and then kind of just drives towards you. We didn't need as much of that, but it's just, again, kind of cool to see stuff we hadn't seen. Batmobile still drives up the wall. Sorry, bachelors, I know that they hated that, but it still drives up the wall. But it was pointed out to me before that there is some comic book precedent for this in the issue The Outsider Strikes Again, Detective Comics 340. The Batmobile ends up having a mind of its own and drives up the side of a building.
Nice.
So
very cool.
Silver Age. Fun times.
I love that.
Then after this chase, we're back with Edward Nygma, and we got that creepy animatronic guesser guy, and Edward's trying to come up with, the gamester and stuff. And what's
Captain
cool
Kill.
is that, and that's where Captain Kill comes in. Yeah, there you go, Alex. This is your cameo.
There you go.
And when he lands on Question Mark Man and the guesser approves of it, Edward starts creating the question mark costume on the computer. You see him put the question marks together on there. And then when he sees it put together, and then along with the hat, the Riddler hat, and when he sees that put together, he knows that's it. And that's why he turns over and says, thank you so much. So that's the full version of that scene. Afterwards, pretty much the same stuff. Two-Face, Riddler meeting, the same. Crime spree. Beginning the crime spree stuff, we do not have Batman getting tricked into going to a beauty salon like in that deleted scene. And
Thank God. I hate
a little
that
off
scene.
the ears, Batman. That's not
I hate that scene, man.
So that's not in there. And Laundry Foo is not in it, Alex.
Damn it.
Laundry Foo scene. It's not in there.
I will not stand for this.
This recut version will have it maybe, but it's not in
There you
it.
go.
And what I was really looking forward to was, okay, what's going to happen with the whole show me how to punch a guy scene from Two-Face and Riddler, because I was like, I know something was cut from this. And we saw a little bit of it, but not quite everything. So I'll tell you what I saw. In the theatrical version, Two-Face teaches Riddler how to punch a guy. Riddler punches, and then he hurts his hand, and he's just like, oh! But in this version, it's a little different where he does that, but then it's extended. Two-Face turns to him and says, you punch like a little girl. Let me show you how it's done. And then he hits that same guard the same way, which we see a little bit of in one of the trailers. And you can tell that it's a different shot because look at Carrie's face here on the right. There is not a moment in the Workprint cut where Riddler decides he's going to do it his own way, because we have this trading card where Riddler is standing over the body of one of the guards with a cane, and in the script, one of the scripts, he decides, okay, I'm not going to use my fists, but I have this cane, and he beats the guy with the cane. And I was like, okay, that could be very dark or could be very goofy, but like I didn't see the footage, so
I could see it with
footage of this exists.
I could see it with the cartoon sound effects, like you hear like bow, like that,
Boing,
like as
boing,
he
boing.
hits him in the head,
But I could also see it done in like a very dark way, so like I don't really know.
Yeah, you had the gun earlier, and it didn't have like cartoon sound effects, like blam, blam, blam,
That's
or something
true,
like that. It had probably real guns in there.
Probably, it was really dark. That part, the gun part, but yeah, this part I'm like, I don't know. We also get some alternate shots of Two-Face and Riddler taking hits off the box. Honestly, kind of goofier, with their
they
facial
had the
expressions.
line. The more or whatever they said was right about everything. Remember what?
That's all there. Yeah.
Oh,
like
it is.
The whole like TV. That's what they said when TV was invented. Like, you're talking about the Jim Morrison thing.
Yeah, where they're basically like stoners.
No, that's not in there. It's just Two-Face and Riddler taking hits off the box, just alternate takes of what we saw in the theatrical cut.
Gotcha. Okay.
We get kind of an additional shot of zooming in towards Claw Island before we get like the close up of the giant box there, and then you get Riddler, taking the giant hit off the box, just like that type of stuff. That's also in there.
That kind of creeped me out, where he's like shuddering in there and everything. It's creepy stuff, man.
Yeah, that was really creepy. The music there's still kind of that laundry foo chaotic guitar music stuff at that point, so it doesn't quite have the same eeriness, the eeriness of the theatrical cut, where it's like almost this like there's like the soprano voice going on as he's getting absorbing all the brainwaves.
Yeah, they had that theremin kind of sound to it as well. Like that,
exactly. That's what it was.
Like that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, for sure. Also not in the theatrical, in the Schumacher cut, I mean, is that scene of Bruce and Dick by the the Wing Chun dummy, and Dick's like, I don't think you have a lot to teach me, and then Bruce like kicks the thing off. So
she had wires, man, like we said before, so he didn't look like he almost fell over whenever he kicked it, man.
My main criticism of that scene is like Kilmer looks like he's about to trip, and like a master martial artist shouldn't like look like that. So maybe there's another take, or they should have just had Alex Daniels or one of the other like stunt people do that specific shot from behind. But, oh well. Dick does sneak into the Batcave the same way that Cirque du Soleil music comes back as he's about to go in. So that's pretty much the same. And then here's the next new shot. It's the exterior of Chase Meridian's apartment, and this is their first introduction to Chase Meridian's apartment. So you see the balcony first with the doors closed. You just hear Bruce and Chase talking inside of like, she's like, thanks for dinner. And she says that she's going to, make coffee. And we sort of zoom in, and she opens the door. And it's the same doors that Batman's going to come through in later when he visits her. But sort of establishes that we have an established sort of line that Chase just moved in, which explains the state of it. Because I always thought it was weird. Just like, why does she have all these sheets draped over everything? That's explained.
Yeah.
The fact that she's about to make coffee does explain why the kettle goes off earlier. Because as a kid, I always thought, like, does she have bats in her place? What the hell is this?
I didn't know what that was either, man. Like, she just left the room, and I was like, some weird noise, and then she comes back.
Yeah. It would have been explained with the coffee thing. And same stuff then happens where he looks at the Malaysian dream doll, talks about his parents getting killed. kisses Chase, and then he gets the alert on his watch. No, sir, the other car.
The other car.
The other car. And then we don't get the Offspring. We get Carol Pope's You Can't Go Back. So it's a completely different song. Doesn't work as well. I thought but then again, I have such nostalgia for the album that, it's like when Alex and I went over the original script for Daredevil, where they wrote in different music.
Yeah.
It was like, it doesn't quite hit the same way. Maybe it would have been cool to hear Creed instead of Hoobastank in that one scene. But other than that, it was mostly like, it was mostly like, it doesn't quite work as much as well as Evanescence.
Yeah,
So,
we need Evanescence, bro.
Yeah. I'm actually, this is a total side note. I'm friends with the band that wrote the main song for Daredevil. It's a band called Fuel.
Yeah.
And so the song that plays right as the credits hit, I actually know those guys, and they're really cool. So
yeah,
and they actually still play that song in their in their set. So it's
awesome.
Really cool. Yeah, and they almost always mention, like, we wrote the song for Daredevil back before Ben Affleck was Batman. They always joke about it. So.
Yeah, my favorite song is like Hemorrhage by them.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, I like that. I like Bad Day myself.
No way. Yeah, I have I have another channel on YouTube where I did a cover of that song.
Nice.
I heard it.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I heard your instrumental version of that. I don't know if there's another one, but I heard.
Yeah, I just did one recently. Sorry, we're getting off track, but anyways.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah. But it's that one, because I associate during that time I was new to Daredevil, and I was like, this is a Batman type of thing, and then I got the soundtrack to Daredevil, and Won't Back Down comes on. I'm just like, this is a Batman song, This is.
I'm with you. Yeah,
right?
Like 100%. Yeah.
Like the lyrics, I'm like, sounds like a guy who's out for justice and vengeance. Like, this sounds like Batman to me. I'm like, sure, that's like, I'm come to give you hell is a little bit more connected to Daredevil.
Yeah,
right? The whole hell connection, but still, it's like, it feels very Batman to me. So
yeah, I'm with you.
I have a lot of love for that soundtrack too.
Yeah, big time. And I think going back to what you're saying about hearing a different song in a certain part that doesn't quite feel right, I think it also goes into the fact that we've seen the movie so many times. Yeah. It's probably hard to embrace something else when there's that, nostalgia of how we see and hear a movie the way it is. Mm-hmm. The song would have to be infinitely better to make us be like, oh, I wish they would have chose that one opposed to this one. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the hard part when you're watching like a previous cut, or in this case, a work print. Mm-hmm. We have the nostalgia of how we know the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It sort of puts the work print one at a disadvantage, but also shows like, hey, like certain things evolve for a reason. Just because this is an early cut doesn't necessarily mean it's always better. And I think that's kind of the lesson with that. If there is an ideal version of this, it's one that combines the theatrical and what I saw, not just the work print. It's still cool to see the work print. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of stuff in it where I'm like, this worked better in the final cut, and it makes sense too, because it's like, well, this is a work in progress. Like, of course, there's going to be certain things that improved. Yeah. So it just makes sense. During the sequence, the girl who Dick rescues, we see actually the beginning of her encounter with the gang. She's like trying to walk past them, and then they like start going around her. So in the theatrical cut, we just see them around her. So that part was new. And then this has been noted before, but the gang leader, played by Don the Dragon Wilson, he was dubbed over in the theatrical cut. We hear his actual voice in this.
Oh
wow.
Not nearly as deep. He's kind of got this Michael Rooker type of hoarse voice, and it just doesn't. And again, some of this might be due to exactly what Tim was saying. Like, we grew up with this guy being like, "That ain't the Bat," like with this like
you ain't the Bat
voice, and it doesn't sound as menacing. Like, I can kind of understand why he was dubbed over. No offense to him, but it's just like it just felt slightly off, partially due to my memories, but also like you have this big guy with like the skull face to it. You kind of expect him to sound a certain way. It just didn't.
They should make a figure of that, man.
The what?
They should make a figure of that, like a glow in the dark one. That'd be cool. I'm surprised Kenner never did that. Yeah.
In retrospect, why not?
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Kenner, come on, you're dropping the or Spin Masters. Come on, make one of those. Yeah, dropping the ball.
Yeah. Dick ends up getting overwhelmed by all the people, so he tries to climb up, and we get an additional shot when he's looking down of that gang member and all the rest, like, try him to like come back down, we'll kick your ass, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that beat. And then when Batman shows up, the big Batman Forever theme kicks in, and then Batman swoops down, and that's when Dick does, starts beating him, and we get more of that scene, and we get this. It's not exactly this shot, but Chris O'Donnell does go on his knees and starts crying and breaking down.
Oh wow!
And Bruce puts his, Batman puts his hand on him, and this is done in like an overhead shot, so we see this from above rather than what we see here. I would have loved it if it was this what we saw here, but it's not quite.
Is this
that.
like a production still or something?
Yeah, it's production still.
Oh, okay.
That was in the magazine.
I was doing the arms up because literally, like, he's just hitting his arms, like he's not trying to like go under him or anything. Like Batman just has both arms up, and he just keeps exclusively hitting like right where he's blocking, basically.
Yeah. But there's more of it, and Dick breaks down on his knees, and there's additional line where Batman's like, "If there's anything I can do to help you, I will." And then we cut to the Batcave scene as we hear Dick say, "There is something you can do to help me," and that leads into the whole discussion of revenge and him trying to go after Two-Face, and Kilmer's monologue about you rush into the night to find another face, like all that's a little different in terms of it's because it's a different take, and he does say a variation of the line that I ended up doing in the audio with like somewhere in the night it stopped being a choice, like it's Kilmer said that, and I was like, oh damn, wasn't expecting that part to be in there either. Cool. We get the NygmaTech
scene.
Oh yeah, I what's one of my favorites, and I think that it was cool to see a slightly extended version, but at the same time, it's just like it's cool to see new stuff, but it wasn't dramatically better.
Yeah.
The NygmaTech party scene, slightly different. There's no "How's my mole?" That's not in there.
Really?
Yeah, it just ends with him being like, "Shut up, you're here to work," to Drew Barrymore, and then that's it. So I guess they wanted to maybe carry a rift off more, and they were trying to be like, well, what if it just ends on something that's a little bit more serious? And then when Edward meets with Bruce, he kind of tries to rile Bruce up more, being just like, I'm going to show you what we could have had together, that type of thing, which we had a little bit of it in our audio. And
the whole recognition thing, like we went over with the novelization, the whole like he needs recognition, like I'm going to show you made a mistake, and like passing me over, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So some extra shots of Batman, like with the shocked face reacting to Two-Face getting away in the elevator. And then some additional shots of Two-Face and the gang leaving the Ritz Gotham. One cool shot was when Two-Face is like, never like a bad case of gas, and the fireball comes towards Batman. We kind of get this shot from behind of Batman standing with a fire coming towards him. So that was kind of a cool additional shot.
Nice.
And then, of course, Robin rescues him. And we get the scene that is available on the deleted scenes where Kenneth Frequency is calling for Batman to retire. But it's cut slightly differently. So Kilmer looks visibly more like riled up by this. He's just like, he's looking intensely. He's like changing his hair as he's watching Kenneth Frequency. You can tell he's taking this very seriously as I talk about doing this. And this is where we get a scene that we did in the Neuverse audio drama. And I'm going to play a clip of us doing this, where he's talking to Alfred about, why am I even doing this? So here we go.
Why do I keep doing this? Jack Napier's dead. Your parents are avenged. The Wayne Foundation contributes a fortune to anti-crime programs. Police handle much of the villainy. Why indeed?
Chase talks about Batman as if he were a curse, not a choice. What frightened me the night of my parents' wake? What sent me running into the storm?
I don't know. Such tragic loss. Rain fell like tears.
I remember racing through the fields, falling into the cave, the bat chasing me. But there was something else, something I was running from. Did I create all this because a little boy was scared of a monster in the dark? I thought I became Batman to fight crime. But maybe it was to fight the fear.
And instead, you became the fear.
If I quit, would Two-Face? Could I leave the shadows, despair Dick, have a life, friends, family?
So yeah, that scene is pretty much kind of like that. There's some differences, right? Like, so the whole part where he's like, what was I doing the night of my parents' wake, and Alfred being like, rain fell like tears. That's actually in the scene where Bruce wakes up in the bedroom earlier in the movie. So I don't know if that was just changed around or if that was just creative license on my part when we did the audio drama, but it's, again, a lot of the scene was in the Workprint cut. Some differences. The Jack Napier line was not in it. It was just your parents are avenged. The line with the whole "maybe I didn't become Batman to fight crime, maybe it was to fight the fear." That's a paraphrase of the line from The Cult, one of Alex's favorites.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and then for those who have seen the deleted scene version, it kind of ends with this weird moment where Alfred's like, "Let the lady decide," and he like basically has called Chase already, and it's like making Bruce go on the phone with her, and she's like, "Who is this?" And then Kilmer's like, he hangs up being like, "Who am I, Alfred? I don't think I know anymore." That's not in. It's just,
good.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a little too much.
Yeah.
And it just kind of ends with the same way as the theatrical cut, where Alfred's just like, "Let the lady decide," and then we go to Chase. So that stuff, I think, was an improvement of that version of the scene, because I thought it was a little too much to be like, okay, she asked who is this, and he's like, "I don't think I know anymore." I'm like, okay, I know you're in a crisis, but maybe not this much of a crisis. So I'm glad they cut it that way. Same stuff happens with Chase in the bedroom. She decides that she's in love with Bruce Wayne instead. Batman decides to quit. Same sequence where he tells this to Dick, and then Bruce is sharing his repressed memories with her, and the roses fall, and Bruce is sort of jolted. Same stuff where Alfred is feeding the trick-or-treaters, and then when we get back, there's like this scary moment where like it's just flashes of like the journal mixed with a close-up of the giant bat like screeching at you.
Really quick, did anybody like Tim, I don't know how old you were when you watched it. Was anybody else freaked out by that bat when they were a kid? Because I remember like that bat creeped me out when I was a kid.
I don't remember being creeped out. I mean, I was probably, I don't know how old I was when I saw it, because I don't think I saw it when it initially came out, because in '95 I was probably about 7 years old. I don't know exactly. I just don't remember being frightened by it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't either, but I think I definitely would have if it was this cut, because this cut has the close-ups. In the theatrical cut is just the bat from the distance, so it's just like, all right, like this.
That's what creeped me out though, like the distance and the kind of like you don't really know like the full form of it. You just see this huge ominous figure kind of just like flying towards them and everything.
Yeah.
It's definitely scarier in this one. I think this is like, this is where we see the close-up of the bat before that Batcave scene. He's like already thinking about it. And this is where Chase guides him, and we get a different scene from what we got in the theatrical cut. And this is a key scene, and this is the big one that I was like, if there's any version of this movie that has the scene intact, the subplot intact, it has to have this part. It has to have this part where Bruce realizes the reason why he really became Batman, right? And it's sort of done differently in the theatrical cut, where it's more about like, oh, I remember there was this bat and I became Batman, but the actual version is him realizing what he read in his father's journal, and it's pretty much what we did in the audio drama. So I'm going to play that clip here.
What hurts so much, Bruce? What did the book say?
The last entry you read. Bruce insists on seeing a movie tonight. Bruce insists. I made them take me to the theater. I killed them. That's what I couldn't remember. That's the crime I've been paying for all these years.
So, very big moment. I think the execution of it, and the best way to describe it is the execution of it wasn't as big as what we did, or I should say how I delivered it, because it's
Kilmer's obviously good, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So Kilmer's obviously a different actor taking a different take on it, but it was kind of very quiet and subdued for it. And I don't know how much of that was just going to be like, okay, we're going to get the music is supposed to like highlight this a little bit more. But I can see why when people were previously reporting having seen this, one of the first things that I was looking for was just like, please tell me this bit where Bruce is just like, I killed them, is in here. And like nobody could answer me.
Yeah.
It's such a big moment. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. The giant bat's in there. I've seen that on YouTube. What about this part? Because this part is not on YouTube. And I'm like, if they didn't shoot this, that whole subplot doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm really glad that this was in it and I got to see it. So
That's good.
it's there. It's preserved. Everything that you need to make that subplot work is in the Workprint cut. It has been shot. So I can confirm that. So he has this revelation. Chase does not kiss him at that moment. We have that bit in the theatrical cut. Doesn't happen here. He kind of has that revelation, and then we cut to trick or treat, except they keep saying trick or treat, trick or treat. It's a little annoying with Two-Face and Riddler in this version. I'm glad they just kept it to one.
Yeah.
Same stuff pretty much happens. There's not really a lot of differences with Riddler blowing up the Batcave. Two-Face shoots Bruce Wayne. He falls down, and in the theatrical version, you just get, he wakes up and it's back to business as usual. But the big moment that, again, I was like, you have to have this part to reveal what happened in terms of the consequence of the gunshot, because otherwise, what was the point of the gunshot? Is when he tells him, the cave's been destroyed. Bruce is like, what cave? Right.
Yeah.
I never noticed the monogrammed pillow before this moment. The monogrammed pillow, the BW right next to his head. And that's the first time I noticed that.
Yeah, and it's the same bedroom too, where they have that previous scene with the whole, what a marvelous shade of purple your bruises are.
Yeah.
So it's all in that same set. But yeah, Bruce gets amnesia from the gunshot, which I know has been a little controversial with people being just like, okay, this is a little late in the story for him to get amnesia, but it does. It pays off so well later. So similar shots. Alfred guides him through the Batcave, telling him to face the reason why he became Batman in the first place. We get Bruce going in, and then we get to the stuff in Claw Island where, Darkman music plays as the Riddler's, lair and stuff, and Chase is being held hostage. And when she says Batman will come for me, and Riddler, says that he's counting on it, it has a whole new context, because in the theatrical cut, it's just like, okay, cool, like he's challenging Batman. But here it's like, oh, we don't know if Batman's actually going to show up because Bruce doesn't think he is Batman right now.
Yeah.
So completely different context here. More sinister for sure. Some have wondered, is there a part where Riddler injects Chase with a syringe like we had in the audio drama? There is an image that shows that they did shoot this. Was not in the Workprint cut. Did not see it.
Oh, wow.
So that's not in there. It just it still ends with I'm counting on it. Then Bruce goes further into the cave, and that's where he finds the diary of his father, where he reads the full entry. And again, we made sure to put this in the audio, so I'll play this real quick.
Bruce insists on seeing a movie tonight. But Martha and I have our hearts set on Zorro. So Bruce's cartoon will have to wait till next week.
Bruce stared at the book in disbelief, tears streaming down his face as he came to a realization.
Not my fault. It wasn't my fault.
So major moment.
Yeah.
Right. I always was struck when the deleted scene with the on YouTube, it just sort of zooms in on the words, and that's it. But the Workprint version, Kilmer does narrate what he's reading.
Yeah.
Which, I did in the audio just because it's audio. You can't, there's nothing to zoom in on. It's an audio. So I just thought, okay, like we'll do it where Bruce narrates it, because he should narrate it. And I didn't realize Kilmer actually did narrate it. It's just not in the, the YouTube version of it. Also different is the fact that in the YouTube version, I think it's a different take when Kilmer says not my fault. Because the version that I saw, you see the tears more. He's crying a lot more in the Workprint cut. It's a more emotional performance for sure in that major moment. And I was really grateful for that, because I was like, oh, like this really even gives nothing, not the other version that's out there, but like this really gives the scene justice. Right?
Yeah.
And so Kilmer's performance in the Workprint, I think, for this scene is different, and it's better because it's a lot more emotional. He seems a lot more vulnerable. He's crying more, and he also seems way more frightened by the bat that's coming. We see close-ups of him, like, not shrieking, but like him, like gasping as it's coming towards him. And then some of the shots of this bat are different from what we saw in the YouTube version. And again, the best thing to bring up about this is that, we got these red eyes On the bat, we get a close up of them, and then the red eyes go to like regular bat eyes. They no longer glow, and it's kind of like symbolizing that you're not the big bad monster anymore. I'm not afraid of you anymore.
Yeah,
That type of thing.
I love that. That's great symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, I hate to do this to you, but I do have obligations, so I'm gonna have to bow out at this point.
Sorry, Tim.
But no, it's okay. Sorry about that. But hey, thanks so much for having me on, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the conversation.
Of course. Yeah, we'll send you a copy. Yep.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Yep.
See ya.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye. Yep. Thank you.
All right. So
hold on real quick. This actually explains something for me. So I have, like, obviously I showed earlier, I have the Flair cards. So I had one, and this solves a mystery for me from my childhood. One where it was the bat looking at him, and it had like normal, almost human looking eyes. It didn't have the red glowing eyes. And for years that baffled me because, like, I've seen those other versions, and that finally actually solved that for me.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
Because you see the red here in these promo shots.
He's like, sup, bro.
Sup?
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of you anymore. It was really cool because I was like, I never really thought that was going to be a thing with the red eyes changing. I was just like, okay, he's got the red eyes. There's also like it's even scarier than what's on the YouTube because it's like its tongue like sticks out, and I swear to God, it doesn't seem like it's an animatronic at that point.
Yikes!
Like you can kind of tell it's like a puppet, a giant puppet in the other stuff, like in this shot. But that shot where it was like the close up and like the tongue is like moving and shit, I was like, I don't know if it's animatronic or they put like a CG overlay just for that one shot or something like that. But it really felt like that was a giant bat.
Kind of like in I know we don't really like this movie that much, but kind of like in BVS where it had that one like creepy bat that like burst out of that that mausoleum that he had, like kind of like that kind of creepiness to it. Basically,
it has that creepiness, but you see more of the face. I don't remember seeing much of the face or the fur in that version of the bat.
Is it like the music video then, like the one where you see like the because there's that shot, or maybe it's a deleted scene where like you kind of see that. The red eyes, and you see like that, like it doing like that, basically.
It's just this shot. I don't think I've seen anywhere.
Oh wow!
Like the specific shot with the tongue sticking out, like I was like, okay, like if this came out the way it was, that would have frightened, that would have traumatized us as kids. We would have talked about that for years to come. It's just like, remember that Batman movie with that giant bat? That thing gave me nightmares. Like we would have talked about
giant bat. Also, that was the other thing, man. I had to hold back from being like. It's like, hey, wait a second. It's like Bruce wanted to go see Footlight Frenzy. That was right. Yeah, because he was the Zorro
Bruce
thing.
Insists on seeing Footlight Frenzy tonight.
Yeah. What's up with this kid with his fascination with what was that? Like we discovered that was a musical, right?
It's a musical. Yeah. So just real quick. Footlight Frenzy was a real life. It was like a movie at one point, but it was like a real life stage play. And I think they used a poster version of it. And I think the Monarch Theater in '89 is supposed to be a live theater, because they're walking.
That blew my mind when you told me that, by the way. I had no idea.
They got playbills. And the novelization by Craigie Shaw Gardner brings up that they came back from a live show. So it's actually supposed to be a live show in that one. But, we weren't really continuity police at that time in the 90s. Yeah. We are now. Where everything's got to be connected. And now that people have kind of separated Keaton from Kilmer, and the fact that this whole subplot of, Bruce insists on seeing a movie tonight was not even in the theatrical cut. It's not a huge deal, but yeah.
I have that book. The Batman, is it the Batman Killer or the Batman Kills by Craig Shaw Gardner too? It's some other book he did.
Oh, the Batman Murders, yeah.
Batman Murders, that's it. Yeah. I have that. I haven't read that one, yeah. Me either. I need to.
Wait, but you have it.
Yeah, I know I have it. I just haven't read it yet.
Hook a bro up.
It's on the list. It's got a signature on the inside. The inside or the outside. The artist signed it.
Oh wow.
It's got like a little silver, they went over it. Yeah.
Jeez. All right. We'll talk about that later. It's not like we have a dearth of things to cover on the show, but yeah.
Oh, did I never bring that up? That might be something useful for our show. Oops.
It's fine. It's not like we have already a running list of things we got to do.
Yeah, somebody should make a show like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is also just a really emotional moment because again, in the deleted scene that's online, there's no music that was originally released to it. Some people have paired up the Elliot Goldenthal music, but the actual song that's played is Adagio from Alien 3, and it's this really emotional, crescendo, loud, like almost like triumphant but emotional music that plays as the camera's going around Bruce and the Bat, like, you know, becoming one with each other.
I've also seen Hearts on
Great.
Fire played over this, like Mr. Sunday Movies did
Oh,
a
really?
version of this, yeah, where you had like
That was
the
not
panning shot. Yeah, it's hilarious.
And then he's like, Drogo!
Yeah,
as,
Drago.
he's coming out of the cave.
He's driving the Batcave, Batmobile around slow, and it's playing. Is it Hearts on? What are they playing?
Hearts on
Rocky?
Fire, yeah.
Yeah, Hearts on Fire, yeah.
So those are the main things, and then Bruce emerges from the cave, and it's basically this part is in this production still where Bruce walks out, and Alfred's like, Master Bruce, and Bruce is like, Batman, Alfred, I'm Batman. And there's an extended shot that we don't see in the release deleted scene where Bruce and Alfred are walking out, and bats, CG bats, fly out of that cave opening.
Nice.
So that was really cool. It wasn't like swarming all over the camera like in Batman Begins, but they do come out of that area. So really great shot.
Convincing, or is it from a distance, kind of?
It's from a distance, yeah. It's from a distance, yeah.
You can kind of convince.
It's convincing enough for that time. Then Riddler puts the question mark over the bat signal to, you know, the Darkman theme once again.
Who the hell is doing that?
We get a lot of we still get a lot of Elfman music, but we still get some Elliot Goldenthal music with like Interview with the Vampire is throughout it. Certain things are become the themes, you know. Like there's a song from Demolition Man that kind of becomes like the trauma theme for it, I think, where it's called A Flawless Pearl, and it's kind of played whenever it's about Dick losing his parents or Bruce losing his parents. So some of the music choices make it darker, and others make it goofier, as you're about to find out. But Kilmer's Batman is also slightly different in terms of his delivery. He doesn't quite have that Conroy-esque like by sea or by air, like him lowering his voice in the third act. He kind of, it's a little bit more whispery. It's a little more Keaton-like, actually. You know, by sea or by air. Like it was quieter in the Workprint cut. And again, maybe it was just because that was the onset audio. He was just quieter because they were just further away. The microphone was further away, and they planned to ADR it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he intended it to be like that, but maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
He was just doing it for the day, maybe like a placeholder or something.
Yeah. Where they're just like, hey, you're too far away. Just don't worry about it. Just say it the way that you would say it, and you'll dub it over later. We have by sea or by air, we have the Batwing and the Batboat coming, and that's where, again, the temp music doesn't always work. We've got this really goofy music that almost sounds like this is the British Royal Navy type of thing. Like it's this very this brass march that plays as they're storming Claw Island. It doesn't work. I'm glad we got the Goldenthal score. Again, it doesn't always improve. Just because an earlier cut doesn't mean that it's an improvement. And then we get them arriving on Claw Island. There's some extended shots of Bruce rescuing Robin in the water, but it wasn't really that dramatically different.
Okay.
Robin does Holy Rusted Metal Batman, and when Robin explains that, you know, the ground is full of holes, Batman doesn't react. There's no like, oh, like it's just Robin says the line, and then that's it. But what we do get is an additional line where, you know, when Robin is being taken up by the Claw Island base, the tower, Batman sort of points and he's just like, I'll meet you up top. So that part's in there.
Do you have the line where the whole island's moving?
I think that was in there. I don't remember.
These lines, man.
It's as if the audience needed to explain that part.
I don't understand what's going on. Explain it to me like I'm not looking at the screen.
The whole island's moving.
Yeah.
We have the return of Darkman music as Batman is inside that chamber with the question mark lights and he's trying to escape. We have some extended shots there. So like the Darkman action music from that High Steel track, that's playing as he's trying to like get up there, while at the same time Two-Face is fighting Robin. Some added dialogue too, where he's saying that, you know, to let him die would be the end of 2 years of pain. So again, more of that stuff about 2 years.
Hasn't
slight,
been that
you know,
long, man. Him being
yeah,
Two-Face hasn't been that long.
yeah. Because remember, it's been 2 years since the day that Batman captured him, and presumably he captured them pretty quickly after he became Two-Face. So he spent most of his time in Arkham in this version of the story, and is now wanting his revenge.
Interesting.
That hero shot of Robin, you know, with the cape swishing and he's on top of
Yeah.
Fly Island, not in the work print. That's not in
Damn
there.
it. Come on.
I don't know if they added that later or whatever, but it was kind of, you know, it's not in this version, at least.
Yeah, it seems like something they'd probably shoot later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey shows up. I'm sorry, apologies to our Patreon patron Nolan Moore, but there's not a buff Riddler that
Won't
shows up.
stand for this.
Gotta recut this shit.
Yeah, damn it.
There's no buff Riddler. It's the same. Visually, it's mostly the same when it comes to Riddler, but Carrey's audio is completely different. And it could be the final version was just all ADR, but Carrey's kind of a little bit more subdued in how he delivers it. And again, I don't know how much of that is just I'm so used to the other version, but it comes off just a little bit more menacing.
Okay.
So, what doesn't make it menacing is they start actually playing game show music when he starts doing the, you know, Bruce's love or the Dark Knight's junior partner. Like it's not Jeopardy, but it might as well have been Jeopardy type music. Exactly.
Yeah.
But we do have this extended moment where Batman and Riddler are exchanging stuff. So I guess you can be the Riddler for this one.
Okay.
So Riddler brings up it's either Bruce's love or the Dark Knight's junior partner. Not enough time to save them both. And Batman responds, Edward, you've become a monster.
No, just the Riddler. And here's yours. What is without taste or sound? All around, but can't be found.
He begins humming the Jeopardy theme, Angle from the water below. The floor between Batman and the hanging cylinders is a holograph, masking a tremendous gap. Batman is about to step into an abyss. So, just real quick, the way this was represented is you see Batman sort of looking down, and you see him reach his foot out, and then we see from like below, from like underneath his foot, we see his foot cut through to find that it's a gap. It's all a hologram. Really cool in terms of the shots here. So he finds that, and then it says Batman stops short, looks up at Riddler. Death. Death, without taste, sound, and all around us. Because there is no way for me to save them or myself. This is one giant death trap. So that sets up the death trap thing that's over here. We now have the full context of what that was supposed to be, and Batman being a detective and figuring out his environment. So that's why he knows he can just jump through after Chase and Robin fall through. Like he knows what's down below. The music plays as he rescues both Chase and Robin, but when he catches Robin, the music stops, and then Chris O'Donnell's just like, "Thanks," you know, and it kind of makes it highlights it a little bit more. It makes it slightly more comedic, but it was sort of a more like, oh, like this is a relief type of way.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that edit because the music sort of drowns out Chris O'Donnell's reaction there in the final film. Then we get Two-Face showing up to threaten them. Again, all the lines here feel like they were ADR'd in the final cut because like Kilmer sounds a little different. Kilmer sounds a little bit more like Bruce. He's got like a softer voice in terms of just like, you know, instead of the whole like, aren't you forgetting something? Your coin. It's like, aren't you forgetting something, Harvey? Your coin. Like it's like quieter. Two-Face's stuff is a little different, but still over the top. So it's just a different take. And then when Bruce throws the coins, you actually hear Two-Face being like, my coin. He literally says it as he's reaching around for it. And he like flails around a lot more. And there's like more reaction shots from Chase and Robin seeing what's happening. And then he
goes like this, like, ah.
Yeah. And then you see him fall, just like what you just did. You see him fall towards the bottom of the shot. And then it just cuts to an overhead shot of the pit below. We don't see him fall into it. It's just an overhead shot of the pit below and the music sounding foreboding.
Do we get a shot of Robin being really satisfied and like clearly like happy that he's dead with that weird weird looking satisfaction he has? I'm like, oh great, you just like totally just ruined the message of the whole thing. He's taking satisfaction out of the fact that his like, you know, family's killer is dead.
Dick, it's only fine for me to kill the criminal.
Yeah.
That's the lesson.
My hands are already dirty. It's okay.
I already killed Joker and Penguin. I might as well kill another villain. Yeah, so it's not like that at all. We don't get the close-ups of Robin. We don't get the shot of Harvey falling. We don't get the close-up of the coin landing on his hand. It's
I
just
like that
literally
shot.
overhead shot of the pit.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's almost like darker in a way. Because it just holds on that. And then that's it. Now, we do have one thing to bring up, which is that Two-Face, we've always interpreted that he died from this because, like, look at that fall. But Joel Schumacher, on his commentary, pretty much contradicted that. And we have Brady, a.k.a. Chaku Milk, your co-host on Flashbacks, to thank for this. He went through the Schumacher commentary because I was just like, I'm hearing about this on the commentary. Don't kill me, guys. I don't have the commentary. Maybe I should get a copy, but I don't have that edition.
Come on, man.
I know. Do you have it?
Oh, the DVD?
Yeah.
Of course.
The commentary?
I have the special edition. I haven't
Well, you
listened
could
to
check
it.
this for me.
I haven't listened to it, but you know, I've listened to our commentary. We're gonna have a link somewhere here.
Yeah.
Go listen to a great commentary. Go listen to our commentary.
But Joel Schumacher on there, and I had Brady check this. I'm like, does he say what I'm hearing he says? And Brady confirmed. This is the direct quote that Brady did at transcriptions, saying, quote, I wanted to keep the possibility that villains could come back if Warner Brothers needed them. I did not expect to be doing another Batman movie myself at the time. Let's remember, Batman Returns, very controversial. Batman Forever was like, here's your next shot at the Batman franchise. If this doesn't work, stay in the Batman.
His suit, to be fair, his suit is in like perfectly intact. It is in Batman and Robin, like the Two-Face suit, you know?
Yeah. So that could be his way of leaving the door open, but he does say in the commentary, quote, I left Harvey, and then kind of like his sentence kind of trails off, and he's like, you don't really know if Harvey's dead or not. So he did intend to make it somewhat more ambiguous. With the way that Two-Face fell, I can't blame all of us for being like, well, Two-Face is dead.
Yes, he never comes back up. There's never like a follow-up to be like, we don't see the Arctic police rolling up like in Superman 2 and like apprehending the Phantom Zoners. Like we don't see like the Claw Island municipal police department like just rolling up and grabbing Two-Face. So you know
exactly. So, but that apparently that was the intention. So I thought, shout out to Brady for finding that, and let's throw in that trivia is that Two-Face, hey, like Schumacher's like, keep it ambiguous. So you could interpret that Val Kilmer's Batman didn't kill Two-Face, but you can see that we pretty much think he did since he never came back, and he's not coming back to that universe unless you check out Neuverse Creative in the future. But anyway, after Two-Face quote unquote dies or falls into the pit, we then cut to Arkham Asylum. We do not get Batman confronting Riddler. And the reason why was because that moment was not shot yet. And we have Mind Kidsack to thank in this tweet saying the final scene between Batman and Riddler was missing in Kevin Smith's Batman Forever Schumacher Cut screening. I saw the same screening. It was the same cut. Since this cut was from a November 1994 version and the scene wasn't filmed until January 1995. And as evidence, he has this shot. Again, I don't know who took the shot. I don't know where this comes from.
In trouble.
Yeah. But it does say November 1994 on that. That's definitely not from the one that I went into. Just the environment is completely different. And this one is a behind the scenes shot of Jim Carrey in makeup. But if you squint a little, you can see that the time is on January. You can see the date, right? And so you can see it's 1/16/95. So
yeah.
That's January of 1995 when Carrey was in the makeup, which means that the whole thing about like I am Bruce Wayne and Batman, like that scene was shot in January. That's why it's not in here. It's not because they decided, oh, we don't need the scene. It just wasn't around yet.
Yeah, it kind of, you can kind of see it in the final film. It's kind of left up to like it doesn't fully highlight how disfigured he is here, but like looking at this, like man, like that thing really messed him up. Like
Yeah. I got a little something on that in a bit.
Oh, nice.
Actually. Yeah. We cut to Arkham Asylum, and it's not just the gates this time because I think that shot, as you can see from the DVD with the deleted scenes, that shot I think was originally just meant to be in the opening, but what you see is this. This is a shot of a model of Arkham Asylum that you can only see in the U2 music video. This is
Man,
not.
you two coming through with all
Yeah, I know,
the
right?
great shots.
We were supposed to see the outside tower of Arkham Asylum. We have a similar shot in Batman and Robin, but the design of Arkham is different, slightly different. The way it looks, it's still this cool, really cool, haunting, menacing, tower from hell type of thing. But
Okay.
this is a cool thing. I was really happy to see this in this version of
Great.
Workprint. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Batman and Robin, where it kind of looks more like a dark, demented castle,
Yeah,
and everything kind of gives that vibe too.
This is an early version of that before they revised the way that Arkham would look a little bit and had a very similar shot in Batman and Robin. So,
Yeah.
but this is specifically the Batman Forever one, the one that was meant to be in the final film, or at least was meant to be in the film. Maybe not meant to be in the final cut, but meant to be in the film. It's at least in the Workprint cut that I saw. Chase does the same scene where she asks Edward, hey, like, Dr. Burton says, you know who Batman is. And then Riddler comes out and says that he's Batman. But the scene goes on longer and he lunges towards Chase in the window of the opening.
Oh, yikes.
And you see his face. And his face is not as nearly messed up as what you see here, but it's still a little messed up. There's like red burn marks around his eyes.
Yeah, you can like because I've seen the movie multiple times. When you can kind of see him from a distance, like it's like definitely toned down. Maybe he got some work done like afterwards to like kind of fix it possibly or something.
I mean, the other explanation too is that they had not shot this part yet. They hadn't even come up with this stuff for the makeup. So like the original idea might have been like he's a little messed up, so make him look a little messed up in the Arkham thing. But then they're just like, what if we went even more messed up?
Yeah,
And
give
then
him like an ear that's like all drooped down and everything.
Yeah. So that could be why they cut this shot. But he lunges towards Chase and we get the close up of him. And we have an added bit where after he says, I'm Batman, he then lunges towards Chase and says, it's me, honey. And then he keeps laughing. He laughs almost a little too long. It seems as if like, hey, like they should have Carrie was just gonna go until Schumacher said cut, as people have said, but it was the last shot of the movie that was new to me.
Nice.
That I had just no idea that even existed. Because most versions just like, okay, he comes out, he says he's Batman, and then that's the end of the scene. There's no it's me, honey, in there.
I can't tell you if you don't say please.
That's still in there, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
Then Chase comes out, kisses Bruce, gets into the car, and then we get this moment that we see in the deleted scene of the DVD, but it intercuts a shot of the bat signal. And that's what Chase is reacting to when she says, does it ever end, Alfred? And he says, no, miss, not in this lifetime. And then it then cuts to Batman and Robin in silhouette running in front of the bat signal, which is the way the theatrical cut ends. I know people want to see this other version where it's closer to the 89 rooftop shot, but that's not in the Workprint cut. I don't know if that was something that was shot in January instead that they were trying to play around with. Personally, and we've said this in the Patreon one, like it would be cool to see. It'd be cool to see, but it's very much one where I think it would have hit better if we were still in like with Michael Keaton and Tim Burton as like a reflection of the ending of 89, because it's meant to be a reflection of 89 where like he's not alone on this rooftop anymore. And it'd be a cool thing to carry over, and I know it was meant to be a sequel to 89 at the time, but I'm also fine without it because it's just like Burton's signature at the end of his movies is somebody's on a rooftop when the signal comes up, and Schumacher's signature at the end of his movies is the hero is running towards us in silhouette. And I'm like, I'm cool with him doing his own stamp on it and not just trying to throw in a Tim Burton thing.
Has more of a punch to it, the version we saw versus this. Like, this is nice if you were to end it. If the movie overall was a more somber piece, like that, something like this would work more. If it's kind of like like it is nice, like the symbolism and like continuing that whole aspect of it. But like I kind of said on our Patreon video, it's like you need that punch at the end. This is more of a popcorn movie than like the Burton movies, where the Burton movies are very much like, I wouldn't call them art films or anything, but they're more like melancholy and everything. And these are more like, popcorny, like broad general audience kind of vibes to it, with this deeper elements definitely still. But it kind of, I was actually talking to Tim about this before we started recording. it's the difference I make between like Snyder and like James Gunn. James Gunn makes like popcorn. It's still really great and well-made movies, but kind of like popcorn movies, like general audiences can get into it. And Snyder makes more like very specific people can get into it. And you do have some people that are into it, but it's much more very different approach. Very
It's
much more.
inclusive.
Yeah. And like that's just the different approaches. Yeah.
I also agree with you in terms of this is a more somber ending. The whole like, does it ever end, Alfred? Like, even if we don't have them on the rooftop, we kind of have this whole. It's kind of it doesn't quite have the same victorious feel to it, right? Like, it does kind of hint towards the Batman Forever title, but it's it could be interpreted, I guess, either way. But I can see how there was an argument from the studio or something, and this is just speculation for my part. I can't say this is why they cut it. But I can see the argument. It's just like, you know what? End with him kissing the girl and then cut to the hero shot. We don't need this other bit.
Definitely.
And they ran towards the screen, and that was the end of the movie. And that was the end of the Workprint cut, aka the Schumacher cut, that I saw. So I'm, again, really grateful, really fortunate that I got to see this. I think I'm more just grateful for the opportunity because of the fact that I think we need to remind people that we are not necessarily owed a look behind the scenes of a previous cut of a movie that wasn't meant to be shown to the public. Because there's all these people being like, we need to have this leaked out. I'm just like, okay, look, there's a few problems with that. One is the fact that there is a matter of public record, thanks to Kevin Smith, in terms of who has this specific copy of this. And any version of this getting leaked out can now be easily traced to this individual because that name was leaked out on the podcast. So if anybody
like I said off mic before, you mean to tell me that the celebrity that's known the most for his big mouth and not being able to keep stuff under his hat actually said something he shouldn't have to the public? You mean to tell me that's true?
So that's kind of the unfortunate situation we're in, where like, okay, the guy who is able to show this to people, who enabled Kevin Smith to have those screenings and stuff, would be the one who gets in hot water, even if he's not the one who leaks it, because now everyone knows this guy has it. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is in general, like, okay, what precedent do you set the more that you cave into fan demands? And again, like, I obviously want to see a finished version of this, a more finished version of this, with this being edited in, but it kind of, there was a little bit of a disturbing feeling sometimes when I was looking at the reactions to the LA screening getting cut and people just being just like, fuck WB, and like, this is outrageous, this is all you get. And I'm just like, okay, like, I understand the enthusiasm, but at the same time, I'm like, is it really all that much surprising that a unfinished cut of a movie was going to be screened and they didn't want that out there? Like, it's not really that crazy. You own that thing. Like, what if something you did, right, got released that was unfinished? You wouldn't want that out there. So like, I kind of understand that stance while at the same time wanting a finished version of this. So the way that I see it is just like, I'm very fortunate to have been able to see this. I'm grateful I got to see this. I hope that more people get to see this through these types of sort of private screenings and stuff. But in terms of whether or not it would get leaked, that would lend the person who's doing us the favor, land him in probably a lot of legal trouble, or at least until we get into the other alternative, which is WB decides to cave in and just do their own edit and release it, which who knows, whether that's going to happen. Clearly they know that there's a resurgence of this because they've now started acknowledging more of the Schumacher movies as opposed to pretending they don't exist and doing more having McFarlane do more of the issues and stuff. But
I mean, look at this. The Spin Master thing.
Exactly.
Like, this was a recreation of this. They didn't even have to do this, but they re-released this to McFarlane. I mean, McFarlane kind of just makes whatever kind of toys nice. He kind of
Batman.
He kind of makes whatever toys he wants to. But going briefly back to what you were saying with the fan entitlement, I like that the Snyder Cut got released, but I do think that with that being released, and the Donner Cut's a whole different thing because that director actually got involved and like released his version of it. But with the Snyder Cuts specifically, you have to look at when that was released and the circumstances of it. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. they had a new app that they wanted to promote, like HBO Max, and that's why they put it on there. And they knew that movie was mostly done. They just had to add in the visual effects and kind of put in some stuff together. But like this whole thing of thinking just because you get it one time that it's going to be like that all the time, I think is a very toxic way to look at it. Like, don't just assume because you got it the one time. Like, people don't know how to just be thankful about something. Like, it's great if we get this. Like it's great that you saw it, but like there might be a reality we live in where we never see it, and we have to, as fans, learn to be okay with that and not be really toxic and terrible to WB. Because I guarantee you one thing. WB is not going to be in a big rush to release something if you're constantly harassing them online and telling them they suck and everything.
Come on, fuckers, you need to release this. I'm like, well, this definitely makes me want to release this movie. Like, that's not how it's going to work.
You verbally assaulting me definitely makes me want to do the thing you asked me to do.
Yeah. And again, like, I do want to see a version that combines what I saw and the theatrical version into a finished thing. But like, and if it does ever get leaked out, I'm sure a lot of fan editors will work through that. But at the same time, I'm just like let's do it right. Let's do it in a way where they see, okay, we see the demand, and we'll do it to honor, the late Joel Schumacher and late Val Kilmer, who was part of this. I don't want it to be a thing where we're just like, well, we harass them to the point where they're going to release this, or like people end up screwing over the very people who were enabling me to even be able to see this, or enabling other people to be able to see this. That's why I was like, I've been very careful to not really talk too much because I was asked not to, in terms of the circumstances that led me to seeing it. So please don't try to ask me, how did you see it? Can I get a copy? Because I'm just like, I can't give that to you. And I'm not going to try to give that to you because I was afforded a very rare opportunity that I never thought I was going to see in this lifetime.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do is screw over the very person who was able to help me do that. That's not how I operate. So we got to be very careful about this. I definitely want to see a finished version of this, and I hope maybe one day we will, right? Whether that's some sort of fan edit or WB officially releasing it. But again, like I think you got to be careful about this. I support the overall idea of behind doing it. We just have to do it the right way.
It's like Riddler and this movie with like how he's acting, that whole entitlement thing of thinking like you're owed something. Basically, it's like I'll be honest with you, the studio doesn't owe you anything. Like it's just
exactly.
It's one of those things. Like you got the movie, the one that's out there. It's the finished movie, and like like you said, we're lucky we got what we got anyway. It's like the studio, like. They don't owe you anything. We're lucky we get half the stuff we do. So we need to approach a lot of things like that instead of this whole thing. It's kind of like with like superhero movies with adaptations, how they are now, where people can afford to be hypercritical of something because they have it so good now versus like when just a decade or so back when something would get close and we'd just be like, oh, there would be like one scene, like, oh my god, did you see how close they got? Like, it's one of those things. Like
they referenced Metropolis.
Yeah, oh my god, it's connected.
Can you even imagine this Batman Superman thing?
Yeah. I think that would have been the Nick Cage one, by the way. Like if it had to be any of them, it's probably that version. Yeah. I'd watch that. I'd watch that BBS.
Yeah. But it's I really am grateful for this because of the fact that there's a version of this where the script episode was all we got. The fact we even got deleted scenes in 2005 is a miracle. I wish there was more that they released, but the fact that we got it is great, and hope that they eventually do it. But again, like you said, just bad mouthing WB is not really going to lead to anything, or trying to have people find loopholes around legal stuff or whatever. Because some people were just like, just leak it out if you're not able to show it. I'm just like, that's not going to put them in any trouble.
They like you said, they have a direct line. They know who has it, and it'd be one of those things too where say someone else does like maybe illegally like copy it, even though they've been told before like, hey, you can't, like, this is very like tightrope we're walking right here, and then it does get out there, they can trace stuff back. Like they will find out. It's not like when you see like other bootlegs of like movies and stuff like leak out there. It's like, unfortunately, because of some people's mouth, we know exactly who owns it, and that's I feel bad for that person because I know that was my cat. I know they didn't want that. So
and so I'm grateful that I was still able to afford the opportunity that I was, along with the other people who were there. But not everybody gets that opportunity, so I'm really grateful for it. This leads into my last question: what's in your cut of Batman Forever, based off of what you heard here, as well as the deleted scenes that you've heard about? This could be a fun thing to end on, because I think at the end of the day, I think every major fan of this movie might have their own idea of what stuff they want to keep, what stuff they want to put in, what stuff that maybe they want to take out.
All right. So for me, like basically the version we kind of read, that novelization, I kind of liked their take, the junior novelization specifically. I kind of like their take on it. It stuck mostly to the script, like something like that, where it has some goofy elements to it, but maybe like there's not that. And I know the version you watched, they didn't have the little bit off the ears or certain things like that. We definitely gonna have the laundry foo scene in there. Like I'll tell you that right now, that has to be in there. But yeah, like I don't know, man. It's just like overall, like what you described sounds great. Could have used more Stickley in there. Where's our Stickley figure? Like we need an action figure. Come on, Spin Master. But yeah, I gotta get t-shirts made. But yeah, man. Like overall, like what you said, I'm not a picky man, Ben. I overall like what you described. I think that was pretty good.
I think you put it in the original order with the Arkham opening, then Bruce meeting Edward. Do I need the scene with the AIDS? Not necessarily, but I think it's a cool introduction. If you're going to reorder stuff with the Arkham opening, you kind of need the big introduction to Bruce, like that. How they had a big introduction to Batman in the theatrical cut. So I think you would keep that in there. Plus, it's just a treat to have Jon Favreau say LexCorp. And that was cool. So I would keep that order. Bank heist of Two-Face. Edward kills Stickley. Everything else happens the same way. Circus. After the circus, you got chased with the bat signal, and then the car chase. That's the original order. And then everything that has to do with this Bruce Wayne subplot with the Red Diary, You're a Killer Too, the flashbacks. There might have been a little too many flashbacks in it, but whatever. Like every scene that has to do with that. Him waking up, talking about his dreams to Alfred. The later stuff, the whole I killed.
Was it spelled correctly in this one? The diary.
It was spelled correctly. Yes, diary was spelled correctly. Unlike we were talking about the Untold Legend of the Batman, where the spine just says dairy on it.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, guys. It says diary on the front, but dairy on the side is one of my favorite Batman stories. But
let's read on.
Yeah, but yeah, anything that has to do with that, I killed them. It's my fault. That type of stuff. That's the whole reason why people want this cut. You have to put everything in there from that. Everything else, do I need a little off the ears, Batman? Like, no, we don't need that.
Part, dude. The scene where he was just like, not my fault, and like the tears are just streaming down his face. Like I remember seeing that. I was like, oh my god, this needs to be in there.
Yeah. No, that for sure. We don't need a little off the ears Batman in comparison.
We
should add more of the scenes. We should add more of the scenes of from 2005 of the deleted scenes that they had. It should have just been the stuff that had to do with that subplot, right? Yeah. Just those. The scene in the Wayne Manor when he wakes up, the other scene of him telling Chase that was his fault as the alternative, him waking up being like, "What cave?" If you had that, throw it to a fan editor, and then you've got the Schumacher cut, and you can do whatever else you want to do in that cut. It's up to you as fans about whether you want to still have I'll get drive through or laundry foo.
Laundry foo stays, but the drive through line, because I've seen like a fan edit of that where it just cuts like, "Can I persuade you to take a sandwich, sir?" And then it just cuts him just looking at him, and then he goes. I'm like, that's much more Batman. He's just
exactly it does. But then at the same time, I'll get drive through is so like iconic to that moment.
It is iconic.
It does kind of pull you out a little bit. So I'm like, I'm of two minds of that, just like the theme of this movie. But
speaking of, and like I showed you my little fan comic I did of I'll get drive through, and like that little I have a little fan comic. I might share it out, or we might share it as like a little bonus in addition to this on superhero stuff you should know. But it's where he actually goes into a drive-through line. It's like McDonald's, and he's stuck behind like Joel Schumacher, who thinks he's at a Burger King because he's ordering like the wrong like kind of like burger or something like that. It's like, yeah, I'll have a Whopper. He's like, it's taking so long, and then like it cuts to the city on fire. It's like it's Gordon on the roof. He's like, I sure hope Batman gets here soon.
We did a similar sketch too years ago with Wolfie as Batman and stuck in the drive-through, and then he found out how much the order is, and he's just like, wow, food's so expensive these days, and he just drives off.
You're a billionaire.
Anyway, big thanks to Dan for gathering the visuals for this, and also big thanks to the people who helped compile everything for this episode, because again, phones are not allowed in the screening that I was a part of. Maybe I should have thought to bring a pen and paper, but whatever the case is, everything that I laid out for you is from memory.
Bring the spy glasses like Halsey had suggested.
But big thanks to 1995 Batman. Their YouTube channel has like all the deleted scenes as well as like deleted shots, a compilation of stuff. So I was able to go back into those videos that I think Neil had probably put together and just be like, okay, that stuff was in it, that stuff wasn't, and like pick out the specific stuff that I could share to you guys. Mine Kidzag, big thanks for being, a film score expert and stuff, and pointing out to me from what he had experienced, the different scores that were in the different scenes. Onyx for helping out in terms of confirming the LexCorp line for me, and Yeet, my friend Yeet, a big supporter of ours. He has this is the first time that we met, but he helped me out. And we were able to experience the screening together. So big thanks to everybody who's listed here for your help. We could not have done this without you. This has been a labor of love for all of us who are fans of Batman Forever. So kind of like what we were talking about earlier, please be respectful. Please, share in the enthusiasm, but at the same time, let's not get the people in trouble who were enabling us to be able to see this very special cut of the movie.
Exactly.
And with that, that is superhero stuff you should know. Speaking of respectful, Alex, why don't you read this? I haven't quite featured comments from Instagram, but we thought this one was important, given some of the discussion that's happened on social media, or on our social medias, respectively. So, Alex, why don't you read this off and address what's been going on?
Okay, this is from AnnaPaula.ai. This is also in regards to so recently with my first and last name, people have thought that I am Bella Ramsey's father, and I clearly am not. Bella Ramsey is like in their 20s. I am 32. So, and also I am not British either. So anyway, we had put up an image, and like, I'm about to go into this, but we had put up an image that we thought was their dad. But anyway, I'll go ahead and read the comment. That picture you posted of Bella is not her father, right? That guy is a Brazilian comedian called Marquito, and that montage is part of the terrible jokes they make about it's actually there, it's not her, but and said this is misinformation. First off, we did not know. Once I did reply to this comment, once I found out that it was false information, I went and took that down. I actually did thank Anna Paula for making me aware of that.
Yeah. So this has been, a big annoyance for you on social media, but also like, look, this is not one where I don't know. I haven't seen, this actor in anything. I don't watch The Last of Us. I have no investment in the game in terms of whether or not, this person was a good choice for the role or not. Yeah. But we
don't care.
Yeah. Like, we see all these comments on yours, and I'm kind of just like, first off, why the fuck are you all trying to find this actor's father?
So weird.
That's weird in terms of social media. And whether you were or you weren't, why all this harassment on this? Why don't you back the fuck off?
Yeah, exactly.
I get no investment in the game in terms of the show. I don't watch it. I tried to watch the first episode, couldn't really get past the first 30 minutes, which did not even feature Bella Ramsey at that point. It's just not for me,
Yeah.
honestly. But at the same time, I'm just like, look, I don't really care about The Last of Us, but like I don't like seeing this on our pages when we're not about that, either about The Last of Us or about harassing people for their appearances, as well as like even if you were, and you've addressed this before, like even if you were actually Bella Ramsey's father, why the fuck are you commenting, trying to rip on this person's daughter or
Yeah.
this person's child?
Yeah, this person's child. Like it's like if I was if that was my child, like what do you where do you think this conversation is going?
Yeah.
Like it would like if you're attacking, that'd be like like if I had like a sibling or something and you did the same thing. Like what is wrong with you that you think that, and it's that entitlement. It's that whole thing of like you're hiding behind a keyboard so you can just like basically throw a rock and go hide behind like a wall or something like that because like there's not going to be any direct consequences to you for being like terrible online basically.
Yeah. So we thought it was time to address that, and maybe we'll have Dan cut together a little short version of what we just said on there, but I thought it was time for us to sort of like not just
another PSA,
but not just correct it, but also just be like, hey, like that shit ain't right, take that off our don't post that on social media.
Stop harassing stars or like celebrities in general. Like leave them alone. Like stop. Be respectful.
Yeah. All right. Next one. This is from Dreamland Nightmare. These other comments are about our Superman trailer reaction. Dreamland Nightmare. Welcome back. I know you've commented on a lot of stuff.
Cool username.
Yeah, it says this seems like it may be taking some ideas from the Superman Lives script, with Clark Kent being the true identity of Superman, just a regular insecure guy who happens to be an alien with superhuman powers and is not yet entirely comfortable with his superhero persona. Interesting. I don't know if I would really associate that specifically with Superman Lives, but because it kind of feels like that's sort of been the general direction for a bit, at least with something like My Adventures with Superman.
Oh, definitely.
But it's a possibility. I'd have to look more into it. Or Smallville, yeah. But it's a cool possibility for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dreamland. I'll have you read this next one.
This is from Nomad 5288. He not buckling. He's upset, displaying righteous anger at the fact that people have a problem with him saving lives, and he's being questioned about it as if it's a problem. His issue is likely that they're putting politics over people. So first off, thank you for this comment. I actually, one of those likes there is me. So like I do appreciate some like criticism occasionally. As long as it's respectful. So I think he is like I would disagree with this. I think that when I say buckling, it's more like he's not expecting Lois to come at him like this hard, basically. And so like you can kind of tell like he's just like he even has a line where he's just like, this is where you're going with it, basically, or he's like because he's not expecting this kind of like grilling that she's doing to him, and it's. And it's kind of, I think she's trying to train him for what like the media is probably going to do to him as soon as he gets out there. But like I don't know, like it's, and the part about putting politics over people, I think it's a whole different thing when he goes overseas and saves someone. Him stopping a war is such a more complex thing, and it is political. It's like two different people. So like the whole thing of like, I think it's going to be revealed that he is wrong. And there's like, there's a way to definitely do this. But I think the whole thing of him just being like, oh, I fixed it in this very elementary way of like, oh, I solved it, it's done, is very naive. And I think it's going to be revealed that is a very naive standpoint. But everyone's entitled to their opinion. So, like, thank you for the comment.
Here. To me, I'm just like, let me just hold out until I see the full context. Because I think the trailer is doing its job in terms of just like, you haven't seen Lois and Clark argue like this before. And, like, what if this is the issue? Just to show that this isn't just like him saving cats out of trees. So,
or what color underwear am I wearing with Lois from the Superman the movie? It's a very different tone.
Yeah. So I think that when we get more context, we can see, okay, is it your interpretation or is it Nomad Man's interpretation? For me, I'm just like, okay, I can kind of see I kind of see what this person's saying here, and I kind of see what you're saying. I lean more towards what you were talking about, simply because of what Dreamland Nightmare pointed out. Of like, I feel like they're trying to make Clark more human here, and so he's a lot more defensive. And I think the more human you make this type of character, the more that's going to go a long way for the whole Superman is too powerful crowd.
Yeah.
Cool. So thanks everyone for the comments.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the shout outs. So go ahead and read these off, Alex.
Here we go. I'm trying to think how I want to say this, really. Maybe I should say it as Stickley. Halsey D. Corbin. Slight rebellion off Madison. Alex of the What Mean podcast. Choco Milk. Super Inframan. Jeffrey Scott Richards / STC Productions.
SDCT Productions.
Oh, yeah. SDCT Productions. Nick Noir. Renee Valdez. Derek Osborne. Jason Price. Rebellious Monkey 98. Cyber 6. Devin. Benjamin Vagan. Nolan Moore. And Mr. Woods.
Nice. All right. Other supporters are Matt Herring, rest in peace. Leander Nicholson. Neuverse Creative. Hey, we know that guy who's just on here. Triple Threat Comics. The Bat Feed. Aaron Quinn. Logan Wood. M. Garcia 5159. Rob Ailing. Robert Schumann. Sparkageddon. Cookie Noms. Elijah B. Shamrock Balls. Ian H. Walter the Wobot. John Wells. Rye Guy. Jackson Putnam. Tway N. Stage Bat. W.Media. Paul G. Sean Willits, and Ruben A. So thank you, everyone.
Sandwich, Ruben. Nice.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for being Patreon supporters. Once again, if you want to join the Patreon tier, that's at patreon.com/superhero SYSK, and you'll get early access to a lot of our episodes. A lot of you guys who have seen this episode, who are part of the Patreon, you saw it many days in advance of the public in general. So you get early access, as well as at least one exclusive super long deep dive episode from Alex and me. This past one for this month was, as we mentioned, the junior novelization for Batman Forever by Alan Grant. So we got a little bit further into that before recording this episode. So we get a little bit more of the deeper dive, as it were, as Andrew used to call it. We are also doing the $10 tier there, where in addition to all those, you get to meet up with us virtually on a monthly meetup where we all kind of gather and talk about your opinions on the latest episodes, opinions about some of the latest news, different trailers, different shows, all this type of stuff. So you'll be able to reach out to us, and you get to influence the show as well. We throw a lot of different polls out for the $10 tier, asking for your opinions, and some of that has influenced the show when it comes to things like the intro that you saw or the theme music that we used. Some of that came down to the $10 tier guys voting on what they thought would be cool for us to do that. So you get to influence the show as part of the $10 tier. And if you're strapped for cash and you're just like, hey, I just want to donate a little bit for it, but I don't know if I can do a full-on subscription for many months, that's okay. You can be part of the collections part, where for a small-time donation, for $5 for the Tim Burton Batman type of stuff, but $10 for the other longer ones, you can get a collection of our archive of different different themed episodes. So for $5 of a donation, you get all of the deeper dives of the Tim Burton Batman ones that we did. We go into the Batman 89, Batman Returns movie magazines, that type of stuff. You get the deeper dive for that. We also have collections that are of X-Men 97, collections for the Penguin TV show, collections of the X-Men movies, all that type of stuff. That's in the Patreon. So if you're just like, hey, I just want to donate like $5 or $10 and that's about it, and you can get something out of it by paying for one of the collections. And the Patreon money then will help go towards Dan, who does the wonderful edits that we have here, puts everything together for us. We would have to spend a lot more time working and probably not do as good of a job as him if we didn't have him. So
that's why he's Dan the Man.
Yeah, exactly. This helps pay Dan the Man, and I pretty much kick in the rest for the stuff. So let's go into the plugs. So go ahead, Alex.
Here we go. So earlier you heard him mention Choco Milk, aka Brady. Me and him, in addition to my co-host Will, do Flashbacks, a Flash rewatch podcast where we cover every episode of the CW Flash show in addition to comics, novels, unproduced scripts, and fan films. Some of that stuff will come in the off seasons, but right now we're in season 2. So right now it's a great time to jump on. You can binge through season 1. We're also on YouTube recently, so if you want to go watch those are all up there. And keeping in the spirit of that, my next one that's superhero related is Night of the Batman, where you see I did this, a little cartoon version of my wife there and me behind a very disappointed looking Batman. And we're about to cover the Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely Batman and Robin thing, where Dick Grayson filled in briefly for Batman. And so look forward to that. And then also, if you like rewatch podcasts, my wife has a rewatch podcast that I produced with her cousin called Review More Girls, where they review every episode of the Gilmore Girls podcast. That one's very fun. That show's about family, and they bring their own, some of their backstory with their family experiences to kind of inform that and relate to the show. So like that's a fun one if you like that. I also have Tangential Exchange. That's my most laid back one. Me and Trip kind of just talk, laugh. That's kind of like just state of what's going on in my life, basically. Like, that's our most laid back one. We just try to have fun. And then What Mean will eventually come back when I have time. That's like a catch-all. Like, it's like movies, TV, whatever. Basically, that's where you go if you want to hear me talk about anything else that aren't these two things right here. But yeah. Anyway,
sweet. You could also follow us on our socials. Our handles are at Superhero SYSK on Facebook pages, Twitter /X, Instagram. We also have a Facebook group. The link is in the description. And if you want to email us, that's superherostuffyoushouldknow@gmail.com. So that's to contact us on a podcast platform. In terms of my stuff, we kind of talked about it already. Tim Maxwell was just on with me, but for those who aren't familiar, Tim runs Neuverse Creative, and I contribute a lot to that. And we do audio dramas of different scripts, as well as different original stories sometimes that tie into the old versions of Batman. So we have 2 different versions of the original Batman Forever script. We have Batman 3, which is performed in the style of Tim Burton with a Michael Keaton type of Batman. And then we have Batman Forever, the Schumacher cut audio, which, obviously we produced before I saw this. So there's some stuff that you overheard in this episode. If you want to hear the full version, then you get to check out the Batman Forever, the Schumacher cut, where I'm the voice of the Val Kilmer Batman. And if you want to be like, hey, like, how cool would this be with Michael Keaton with like the Danny Elfman music? You can check out Batman 3, where I'm the voice of the Michael Keaton Batman. So either way, you get some version of the story, and that has been sort of supervised by myself because I compiled what stuff would get into the script and what stuff, we would cut. Sorry, Alex, there's no laundry foo in the audio.
Oh man.
Yeah. So you can check out my work on Neuverse Creative. I did a whole variety of other audios there, but you can check out a lot of that stuff. Otherwise, if you want my original stuff, I do include a link to my Amazon author page. So we do have a few original stuff there. One is Alter Ego, which is sort of a mix of Batman No Man's Land with X-Men and The Departed, where 5 families of supervillains take over Detroit. Our main character goes undercover as a henchman to eliminate them one by one. So first 2 issues are on Amazon. There is a variant cover of issue 1 done by Alex himself. We see in the middle there with one of the supervillains. And he's going to have another variant cover soon of issue 4, as he already showed it to me. And I'm just like, I'm saving this because the villain that you illustrate on there plays a bigger role in this other issue. So I'm saving that one.
Can't wait.
You can also check out my manga, Musashi and Son, based on the real-life samurai Miyamoto Musashi and his adopted son. So think of this as a samurai Batman and Robin. They go from village to village hunting down the bandits that murdered this boy's father. Volume 1, also on Amazon, also on my Amazon author page. Volume 2, currently in production. We're aiming to release that later this year. Again, you can check out the Amazon author page. You can also check out the merch on TeePublic. I'm wearing my Alter Ego shirt. Yep, thank you. You'll see that a lot in different videos of mine. I'm either wearing Alter Ego or Musashi and Son, but I'm
just wearing an anime shirt, just totally unrelated.
Got to get one of your own stuff soon. So we'll do. We'll put in TeePublic links as well in the description whenever we have more stuff. But I got Alter Ego shirts, handbags, coasters, all that type of stuff. I think we have coasters on TeePublic, but whatever the case is, you can check that out in the links below. Or if you like Musashi and Son better in terms of the art, you can get that too. Nice. Coming up later this year is Alter Ego issue 3, where Jace gets to move forward in his plans to turn the supervillains against each other. And I have an animated movie coming out directed by a friend of the podcast, Aaron Quinn. It's a faithful adaptation of the James O'Barr graphic novel, The Crow, that I co-wrote with them. Yeah. And he did this poster here based off The Fallen Angel. That is fantastic. I'm still floored looking at this because it does look like it's an alternate James, like a variant James O'Barr cover for The Crow.
It looks great.
It's great. So co-written by me, and I'm the voice of the Crow for that. So really looking forward to that.
Nice. I was gonna bring up because we mentioned it earlier. So like this, so like the Batman joke we made earlier. The Mad Hatter thing, we have a joke in Patreon where we're saying that the mind control is very Mad Hatter-ish, and they should have had like Mad Hatter be in there, and since he has this obsession with Alice, like basically Chase Meridian is his Alice in there, and that could have been like a cool, different kind of take on it, kind of thing. Yeah. Watch our Patreon episode for the full context of that. Anyway, plug.
Thanks for the plug out. Yeah.
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 One last thing.
Yes.
Since it is Pride Month and everything, and being a bisexual person, and also Batman Forever being directed by a famously like gay director, happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
Yeah.
We're going to do a slightly different intro because I know I usually quote 89, but because of the nature of this, because this was 6 years in the making, I feel like I have to change it up with a different Batman. So I'm going to go into a different outro here. We see without seeing. To us, darkness is as clear as daylight. What are we? I'm Ben Wan.
And I'm Captain Kill.
And this is superhero stuff you should know.